W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
And the Bills, for the sixth consecutive week, will trade a win with a loss. And they fall to 5-4 on the season. The Bengals are a bugaboo team for this Bills squad. They don't have answers for this team.
Just too inconsistent overall. Not enough complimentary football. It's the old cliche, in order to win, you got to stop yourself from losing, and we didn't do that tonight.
I know Bills fans today kind of need a hug.
Mike Danger.
I can make the argument, Gino, that Lou Anarumo is a better defensive coordinator than Sean McDermott.
Gene Battaglia.
I feel like I have to defend McDermott here. Yes, if you're just kind of saying by the record they're the same, whatever. Also, I would kind of point out, kind of helps that you have a Joe Burrow on the other side.
Joe Burrow.
Do you think Joe Burrow just dreams of like touchdown victories? I don't think that dude dreams about football whatsoever. Like, he's that cool.
We're all here licking our wounds on a Blame Assessment Monday.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon. Pull up a stool and join us and welcome on in. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia is on the air on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM, AM 950. The Fan Rochester and the free to download Odyssey app for smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. We've even got our video stream up and rolling for you now at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. I am Mike Danger. A good day to you, Gene Battaglia.
Mike Danger, this is a first in the sports bar. What time does that say up there?
Oh, look at that. They changed the clock.
They changed it! Every time, twice a year, I have to come in, and whoever's working the weekends or whoever's before me or whatever, it doesn't matter. Let somebody else do it. I'm like, okay, I'll be the one that changes the clock.
Do you have a clock right now in your house that is still wrong?
No.
Did you go through and change every clock?
I have to.
How many?
Well, two in the three in the kitchen. The digital ones in the kitchen don't reset, and then we have one big decorative one, so 4. Oh, and the alarm clock, so 5.
You're the best.
What? You think that's like?
No, I've got one. I've got one that's a decorative one hanging in our kitchen. The battery has died on that. I haven't changed that thing. Like, it's been wrong the time. It doesn't even work anymore. It's just there solely for decoration. It serves no purpose. And it's within 5 feet of the 2 digital displays that you have on the microwave and on the stove. So, or as my wife likes to call it, the box with the fire in it. The clocks, I changed those 2 clocks. Sandy woke up Sunday morning and completely forgot that we set the clocks back an hour. She woke up in a panic, waking up the girls, because the girls, my daughters, every Sunday, they go to church with their Nona. This is their Sunday tradition. And she woke up at 8 o'clock, 8:15, thinking that it was, thinking they were late. It was, or 7 o'clock, 7:15, thinking that they were late because it was 8 o'clock on her alarm clock, which she didn't change before she went to bed. And even the girls were like, look at your phone. It's everything changes. The phone is the voodoo that changes everything, and you don't have to worry about anything. You wake up, and I feel like aligned without, just the only thing that gets me is still my car. When I'll get in my car, I'll be like, oh, that's the, I panic for a second. I'm like, oh, I got to set that one back too.
That's about it. Two
in the kitchen. The broken clock that is right twice a day that I never touch, because the battery is dead and I just won't change the battery. The car and Sandy's alarm clock, but she did that one herself. So
yeah, I have an old-fashioned alarm clock, okay? And the alarm clock, I have it on the AM dial. And this is how old it is, where you're tuning it to 950. Well, if you go a little too far to the right, you hear a lot of evangelical stuff.
Oh, sure.
That makes me get up in the morning and be like, okay, bam, turn that thing off.
Sandy uses her alarm clock is my old digital clock from when I was in high school. Like, it's this old Sony digital clock, and it still works. But man, when that thing goes off, and I hear it every morning when she gets up to do the morning show, 3 a.m., 3:30 every morning. That thing, immediately, like like I'm in middle school again. It's ridiculous. It just shoot up every time I hear it.
Yeah, and then you turn over and be like, have a nice day.
And it's over.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that extra hour did everybody a little bit of good. We certainly needed it because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I don't know how you're feeling today.
What? I don't feel like I have an extra hour. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No.
We've got a great show and a lot to get to here on a Blame Assessment Monday. Here's what's on tap in the sports bar and on tap at Three Heads Brewing. Cranberry Grape Sour Ale. Tart cranberries and New York State grapes coming together to make a delicious treat. Get yours at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue today.
We will talk to Alex Brasky, Batavia Daily News, also Bill's Digest, as he's got a new issue out talking about mid-season reviews. Yeah, here we are. Not exactly where we expected to be at the midway point, but again, it's only the midway point. We'll talk to Alex Brasky about what has to happen if the Bills are going to dig themselves out of this, and that is an accurate phrase, saying that they're not in playoff position right now. He's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour today.
13 Wham Sports and BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalana will join us here in about 20 minutes or so.
As he's back from Cincinnati, they did get in okay, so the flight back was fine. So we'll talk to Mike about what he saw out there last night. Yeah, and was this more on coaching? Was it on Allen? Is it just a defense that all of a sudden we just have to recognize this ain't all it? There are obvious problems here. We'll talk to 13 Wham's Mike Catalana and get his thoughts on Cincinnati last night. He's joining us here shortly.
And, Mondays after a Bills loss usually means that it gets a little bit busier here in the sports bar. You're welcome to pull up a stool on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That's 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, the new location at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
I would say this, because you can call us about McDermott or Dorsey or this talent on the defense, Von Miller, Micah Hyde. It might be, not a we're going to find out about Hyde and Benford and also the middle linebacker. I go back to Josh Allen. And just hear me on this, Danger, because Josh Allen was not perfect last night. Certainly, I don't think people would say, "What are you saying?" Like he's not the main reason the Buffalo Bills lost the game. No, but I think he is the solution. And listen to me on this. When Sean McDermott at halftime was talking to Melissa Stark, my head was about ready to freaking explode.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Vincent actually tweeted at me during the game at AKA Mike Danger. Complimentary football, LOL. He knew exactly what you were going to say today.
Yeah. Yeah, because complimentary football, when do you talk about that? You talk about that when you know you have the inferior offense. When you know you're going up against an offense that is really good, but how do we slow it down? Well, it's not just the defense, it's the offense, it's the special teams, it's coach speak. But if you have a quarterback in Josh Allen and a wide receiver in Steph Diggs and parts around them that admittedly haven't been working all that great, okay? But if you have a quarterback in Josh Allen, and let's start there, and a wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, you do not have an inferior offense talent-wise. You just don't. So take that complimentary football talk and shove it where, I'm sorry, I am not buying in. And if you're Josh Allen, the great athletes do this. Either they do it through the media or they do it behind closed doors. They do it some way in their own way. If you're Kobe Bryant, if you're Peyton Manning, if you're Tom Brady, if you are an athlete that likes to win games, then you say, we have to do it this way. We're doing it my way. And the Josh Allen way is up-tempo, spread offense. Let me find the receiver. If it's not there, let me take off. Because the complimentary football, slowing it down and everything else, this offense is in a malaise right now. And because there are problems on the defense, we all can acknowledge, you're going to need your offense to win games single-handedly. We haven't seen that since what, the Miami game? So to me, this season, the solution is Josh Allen. I don't think Josh Allen is broken. He's playing hurt. I certainly can acknowledge that. But to me, I want to see some leadership out of Josh Allen and not just this golden retriever attitude of I'll just do whatever. You take the reins on this. Josh Allen is the most important, powerful person in this organization. It's not Sean McDermott. It's not Brandon Beane. It's number 17. Thank you, Mike Danger, for letting me have my piece.
I love everything that you just said, Gino. I'm trying to find ways that, areas that I can push back on, and it's hard for me to come up with anything. I think Josh Allen himself, when you talk about, he didn't lose them the game yesterday, but he needs to be better. When you look at Cincinnati, their talent is better. Their quarterback is better. Their coaching is better. When you look at Kansas City, their quarterback is better. Their talent is better. Their coaching is better. The Bills aren't there. They're not that team. They're just not there. So there's more than just one thing to point a finger at for anybody that wants to say, fire the offensive coordinator. Okay, sure. Yes, that in the heat of the emotion, and when you don't score enough points and you're angry at the way the game goes, you can say that. You can say fire. They're not firing McDermott. They're not firing Dorsey. This season, this team's talent and this team's coaching isn't good enough. It's just not good enough. Now, not good enough to win the Super Bowl. Is it good enough to get to the postseason? I saw a thing this morning while I was watching Get Up, and just the graphic. I wasn't paying attention, but the graphic said, "Is the Bills season over? Is the Bills season over, or do the Bills need to retool?" And I'm like, Well, the Bills season most certainly isn't over after last night's loss. It's not great that you're on the outside. You're farting around now if you're the Buffalo Bills. It's not great. Yeah. But look at the rest of the division. You have a team in first in Miami that can't beat a winning team. You can't do it. Jets defensively are legit. But I don't think Zach Wilson is going to scare. I think even a depleted and injury-riddled Bills defense should be able to handle what the Jets throw at them offensively here in a couple of weeks. Season's not over. Do they need to retool? Well, yes, of course. But you can't do anything about that now. You try to do something at the trade deadline. And I love the team. I love that we look at the Bills and we're like, we got to do something. We got to do something. It's like, if you're saying that about your team at the trade deadline, it's because you have deficiencies and a lack of talent on your roster. You look at teams right now that are thriving in the AFC. The Chiefs didn't make any moves at the trade deadline. Baltimore, they're like, we're good. We got our guys. We like our guys. We're good. Now, injuries play a part in that. And certainly the Bills' defense, it's less than ideal when your starting linebacker is out for the majority of the game with a head injury. You lost Matt Milano. You lost Daquan Jones. But, again, the talent isn't there. It's next man up, right? It's always next man up. Well, the next man up sucks. The next man up ain't getting it done. The next man up misses a tackle, doesn't know his assignment, doesn't know which gap he's supposed to be in. Next man up isn't working because the guys you have for next man up just aren't talented enough. You don't have the kind of depth. We've been sold a lie on the depth of this team. The depth is, we've got great depth. No, you don't. Not really.
Or I look at Dalton Kincaid, and yes, okay, he fumbled. When he fumbled, that was it. It was pretty much the game, right? You realize, okay, they get a score there and there's enough time. It took you a Dawson Knox injury to realize, like, this is the way to go here on offense with Dalton Kincaid. Like, some of the next guy up, Danger, yes. Yeah. Actually, that is a next guy up that actually is delivering in that regard.
And then, so let's go back to what you said originally, because I think there are so many agendas at play that go above Josh Allen's head. Mainly when you talk about specifically how they use Josh Allen. Don't run the ball. Don't run. Preserve yourself. Preserve yourself. Don't go out there and get yourself killed. Be smart. Play smart. Play smart, right? You saw it week 1. Play smart. You got to let him play. You just got to let him go. You just got to let him go. And if Josh Allen has a thing going with Dalton Kincaid, then let him feed Dalton Kincaid. If it's with Diggs, let him go. Let him go. Let him be more a part of your planning, your preparation. You're Ken Dorsey, and Ken Dorsey might be more of an alpha than Josh Allen. That needs to change. Josh Allen needs to be the guy that tells Ken Dorsey, this is what we get. And yes, we've seen this in the NFL with quarterbacks who win. Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels had that kind of relationship. Certainly Peyton Manning. was a general on the field. You're seeing it with Mahomes, the collaboration with Andy Reid. It's fourth down. I want to go. I want to go right now. I want to go. Andy Reid in the playoffs. Patrick, you shouldn't play. You should play. I'm playing. Like, you couldn't keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline against Jacksonville last year when he was hurt. He had to fight with his head coach. You don't see that.
Right, and we wouldn't have learned about that if it weren't for the quarterback show. So I'm not asking Josh Allen to get up there in his weekly press conference on Wednesday and point the finger at McDermott and tell him, as much as I would think that would be awesome, not for the complimentary football stuff. All you need Josh Allen to do is say, this is the way, if I'm going to be the quarterback of this team, put it on my shoulders. That's all. That's what the leaders do. That's what Diggs tried to do. That was back in the spring, okay? But Diggs is not the quarterback. That's not his position.
Right. I'm going to spare you. I've got a lot of post-game sound from Sean McDermott. I got a lot of post-game sound from Josh Allen. You don't want to hear it because it's the same thing you've heard all season long after the Bills suffer a loss. And I don't want Gene's head to explode if Sean McDermott says complimentary football. So we're going to spare you some of the post-game sound from today.
It would be a funny bit, like, which loss did this come from? And you just hit the song. I would say that was Jacksonville. No, actually, it was the Patriot game.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. And look, even with all of it, there were some bright spots in last night's game. I mean, Diggs remained solid. Dalton Kincaid, you take that fumble away, 10 catches, 81 yards. I mean, he's going to be special. He's going to be a big part of this offense moving forward. Dane Jackson, out of nowhere, had a really, really good game.
I think Mike Tirico is in love with Dane Jackson. And actually, the defense danger, Josh, what are you throwing that football? You take over in the 22. Bengals came away with nothing.
That's right.
Now, a lot of that was Cincinnati doing it themselves, but Bills didn't allow anything there, so they picked them up at that point. I was thinking, my gosh, this is actually the invert hero of the Buccaneer game. The Bills going for two, which I loved. Why would you do that? Well, you do that because you realize statistically you're going to get one of the 2-point conversions. So if you get the first one, you've just spared yourself overtime.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a great move.
Yeah, I love that. And, man, I tell you what, as far as the play on defense, you're short, obviously. You don't have Matt Milano. You don't have Daquan Jones. We got to see Linval Joseph out there. We got to see Rasul Douglas out there for a handful of plays. But you saw a lot of Tyrell Dodson. And when you see a lot of Tyrell Dodson and when your best player on defense is Dane Jackson, you probably know it's not going to be a great night for the Bills defense. And that zone defense. And, Gene, we've been watching this defense for a generation. The Tony Dungy, Tampa 2, the variations of it, this zone defense with two high safeties. It's easy to pick apart if you're coached right. If you're Zach Taylor, you tell a no-name tight end, find the soft spot in the zone and sit, and he will find you. And you've got, defenders 5 yards off of you because they're playing the stupid zone. It's not tight, it's loose. Your guys aren't as athletic as they used to be. They're not as fast as they used to be. They can't jump routes the way they used to.
Yeah, and if you're only sending 4, what's happened here in the last month?
You're not getting to the quarterback. Right. The pass rush, it's all predicated on that pass rush, and you don't have a pass rush. You don't have it. And maybe that was all Daquan Jones, or maybe he was a big, big part of that. But Von Miller don't have it. Greg Rousseau, too inconsistent. Ed Oliver, they're not getting to the quarterback with consistency. You see flashes of it, bursts of it. A.J. Epineza had some moments this year. Invisible last night. Von Miller.
Oh no. That last play danger. I'm not looking at who's on the defensive line, and Mixon bounces the outside. I'm like, well, who had the contain there? That was Von? And not only did Von, take a dumb bite on it, okay, he still had a chance to wrap up. Sneak in a couple calls. Mike Catalana, back from Cincinnati, will be joining us here in a minute. Patiently waiting. Tim in San Diego. Hey, Tim.
Well, guys, you pretty much just nailed everything what I was going to say. But, like I said, going back to Dane Jackson, had a heck of a game. But again, here's Gabe Davis disappearing. I don't know if that's on him or if that's on, the play calling. I don't know at this point. It's just they like you said, they have to outscore now. Their defense is so depleted to the point where it's just like, okay, let's hope we can get a stop, but it's all on the offense. And like you said, I hope Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, but like there's a there's a mutiny and say, go to Ken Dorsey's like, listen, guys, let's do this, But who knows? But also the reality is this team was only seconds away. I'm pointing to the Giants game and the Tampa Bay game from being a 3-6 team. I mean, that amazing how the swing could have been. And going into next week with the Broncos on Monday night. They're coming off a bye week. They beat the Chiefs the previous week, so there's momentum building, in the Denver organization all of a sudden after the horrendous start. And that game is not going to be easy unless the Bills do make the adjustments to say, okay, we're going to place it on Josh Allen's shoulders. We're going to get James Cook involved more in the passing game. We're going to try and get Gabe Davis, more involved to take some of the pressure off of Diggs and now Dalton Kincaid. And that's just, it's going to be a tough road. And if they go 9-8, I wouldn't be surprised. If they go 7-10, I wouldn't be surprised. So, but I'm always optimistic, but McDermott doesn't give me that optimism. Especially Gene, I was off my rocker when he said complimentary football.
Yeah, I had people tweeting at me like, "Oh my gosh!" And he wanted nothing to do with that Melissa Stark interview. He was just
no coach does.
No, but he's in particular, McDermott's all over it. Tim, always good to have you set the tone on the show. Appreciate you, bud.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Joining us from Linda from Webster. Hey, Linda, how are you?
Hello, gentlemen. I want to let you know we are officially farting around. We've entered farting around season.
Yeah.
We are farting around.
Yeah.
And I have a point about Ken Dorsey. You guys have mentioned many times that sometimes when people are offensive, defensive coordinators, they're great at that job, but then when they jump to head coach, it's like, meh. Well, Ken Dorsey was a quarterback's coach. And how many people was he in charge of? Maybe 3. Now he's an offensive coordinator, and he's in charge of like half a field of players. And that's a very different way you have to motivate people differently. You have a group. You got to look at group dynamics. Having worked one-on-one with students and then teaching a classroom, it is 2 different things. And maybe, that's a little bit of what's going on is that he can't see like the entire field of offense. I'm just throwing it out there. It's just a very different skill set to go from working with a teeny small group to a larger group. And that's all I have to say. I only listened to the game on the radio. I couldn't bear to watch it. And I turned off at the half. I couldn't be depressed. I couldn't go to bed being depressed. Yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and thanks for taking my call.
You got it, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Appreciate that. All right, we're going to get to Mike Catalana, 13WM Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com. We'll continue this Bills-Bengals conversation before we start to look ahead to a week from tonight when the Bills will be hosting the Denver Broncos. 13WM Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Mike Catalana next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for everything.
Entering Week 10, the Buffalo Bills are out of the playoff picture. This after the loss in Cincinnati last night. Head coach Sean McDermott on what's next.
No, we've got to continue to coach and continue to play hard and find ways to win. That's what you do in this league. You got to find ways to win. And, it starts up front on both sides of the ball, establishing the line of scrimmage, and we got to feed each other, right? And right now it's too inconsistent.
Mike Catalana, 13 wham and Buffalo Plus. He was in Cincinnati. He'll join us next year in the Sports Bar. Week 9 wrapping up tonight. It's the Chargers and the Jets on Monday Night Football. Baseball news today, the Cubs firing David Ross. Craig Counsell is now their manager. The Mets hire former Yankees bench skipper Carlos Mendoza. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Just finding a way to get into a rhythm. Come out in the opening drive, had some success moving the ball. Obviously hit a low there and didn't score really till late in the fourth. We had our opportunities, didn't score before half. Didn't get 6 in the first drive of the second half. That's not complimentary football, You got to double dip and get into points there and give yourself a chance. And it's the old cliche, in order to win, you got to stop yourself from losing, and we didn't do that tonight.
Oh, God, save Josh Allen. It's gotten to Josh Allen, too. It's an epidemic. Complimentary football. We welcome in 13 Wham Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com, Mike Catalana. Hey, Mike, before we assess blame and start talking about the game, paint a picture for us, because it looked unbelievable on Sunday Night Football in Cincinnati. The stadium and the stripe out and the whole thing is one thing, but this was, of course, a game with some special meaning for Damar Hamlin. Can you walk us through what that atmosphere was like?
It was interesting before the game because Damar was out there doing his warm-ups, and he was really embracing the moment. We knew he wasn't going to play. And it was kind of cool. I could hear the response, a lot of fans getting to see him. We know Damar in Buffalo. They know him as the man who had that happen to him on their field. So it was really kind of cool. This was a game that there were 66,000 people in the stands. There was not a ton of Bills fans there. It wasn't that kind of crowd for a road game. The Bills fans travel well, but not as many in Cincinnati. But the fans interacting with Damar, I saw him signing some autographs and talking to fans before the game, and then and then we saw him after the game. We were all out on the field. When I say all, a limited number, 6 or 7 people, and this was right before the buses were leaving, and Damar was just walking out on the field. Actually, appeared to be near the spot where he went down on the field. And I think he just was a quiet moment for him at the end before he left. So I think it was great for him. The atmosphere for the game there was great last night. Their fans are very into it, and for all of that. But for the Damar part too, I think it was good for him, and it kind of to a point ends this for the team now. Damar's been through every stage of this. But that was big for them going back to Cincinnati.
Mike Catalana, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Mike, what is loaded question? What's wrong with this Bills offense? What happened here?
Yeah, it's the offense that stinks. They don't have an identity. They don't have confidence in it. And look, it's not one thing. It's not one person's fault. But somebody's going to take the heat for this and take the blame. And last night, I'm in the press room, media room, and we're interviewing Josh and interviewing McDermott. And look, I don't think I'm reading into it, but when it was done and I mentioned it on the air, I turned to Dan Fates and I said, they're being critical of Dorsey in the way that the Bills normally are. Like McDermott mentioned, why aren't you staying with this pace? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know why that happened. And Allen mentioned on several occasions the game plan. And look, when you say the game plan, I'm following the game plan. Like, I'm just doing my job, folks. It's kind of what I took from it. And it wasn't like I'm going to rip my OC, but it's frustration. And things move fast in this league. NFL stands for not for long. Like, when things are bad, you have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs on your team, and your offense stinks. Like, it's bad right now. Something has to change. Either Ken Dorsey's got to change the way he's calling the game, or somebody else needs to call the game. Because honestly, there's no flow. There's no plan. It really doesn't look like it. Started with it, ended with it. Not sure what happened in between, but there was a lot of a mess on the field last night offensively.
So, Mike, we know that Josh Allen kind of put his vote of confidence in when Brian Daboll left, and this was the guy that he wanted, and the Bills, I think, did the right thing in hiring the guy that the quarterback was endorsing. Would the best thing for Josh Allen right now to save Ken Dorsey, or to turn this around for Ken Dorsey, is to be more vocal, to be more of a guy, more of an alpha, to take a role that we've seen other star quarterbacks take with success, a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning, even a Patrick Mahomes does it now, where you just see Josh Allen kind of saying, no, this has to go through me.
Yeah, and I don't think it's vocal. Like, it's funny because our guys down on the field a lot of times will say, Josh is vocal on the sidelines. I know everybody sees the 8 shots they get a game that, CBS or NBC or ABC shows of him. But Allen is pretty animated a lot of times with his teammates. I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No.
I think I'm talking about in the offensive room, in the quarterback room.
Yes.
Like, this is what I need. I think it needs to be, I don't think Josh is usually wired that way. I think he's a guy who has been very coachable in his life. I think he respects these guys. But at a certain point, I don't think you're doing Ken Dorsey any good if you're holding back. And I just saw that, Josh usually came in that Jets game, took the heat. Well, he played lousy in that game. And I don't think it was planned as much as his execution of it. But since then, he's tried to do what's needed to be done. And it's just not working. Even in the Tampa game, at least I saw a plan, right? And they did this, and they went with the quicker pace. But you know what that was, guys? They hadn't done that. And they showed that, and they put it on film. And I said right after that game, now I want to see what they do when it's on film and everybody's seen it. And how do they react to what defenses do? And I was not impressed. They started out with it. They go down the field and score a touchdown. I don't know what happened from that point on. I don't know what they were doing. But the offense was not moving, and that comes down to coaching. It really does. These are basically the guys they started the season with. I know Dawson Knox is out, but come on, they're better off with Kincaid and playing, in more of 11 personnel anyhow, at least offensively. This is who you signed up with. They're healthy on offense, and they're bad on offense, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, and look, I can almost forgive the defense knowing that they're missing players, and who knows, they may be missing more at this point, Mike, but can you, 24 points against the Bengals, I think that's kind of realistic there.
Yeah.
If you told me before the game, I'm thinking, oh boy, the Bills have a shot to win this game.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they scored 3 in the second half. They got some stops. They kept the team in the game. Look, Bengals made some weird mistakes, too. They were a beatable team last night. They started out really sharp on offense. And McDermott, I got to say, I do think it's taken him away from the other parts of the game. And I mean, even maybe a little more attention to the offense, because nobody who has coached this defense, Leslie Frazier really for the whole time, has had to deal with the injuries that McDermott's dealt with. And I'm looking around there last night, and at one point, Hyde's off the field, and both corners are off the field. And you're playing with Rasul Douglas, who just showed up. And at the end, they had Josh Norman in the game, and Von Miller is 30% of what he's been out there. And you don't have Daquan Jones. You got Linval Joseph making plays, but he just started. Both linebackers, obviously, I should have started with that at that point. No Milano, and then you lose Bernard. So it's a mess. And they played, honestly, I would say they played pretty well. Yeah, they gave up plays. It's the Bengals. They've got players. But that's not the issue with this team. You can duct tape it together a little bit on defense and hang in there. With a decent offense last night, I think they have a shot, if not beat the Bengals. But the offense was not good.
So a lot of the narrative today, especially from the national media, Mike, is that the Bills season is over, or that the Bills need to retool. I mean, we know that there's still a lot of football left to be played, and while they might be on the outside looking in right now, the playoff picture, when you look at the AFC East, there's still a shot that this is at minimum a postseason team, and they're not owed anything, and it's not like they can snap their fingers and look like they looked against Miami at any given week. The season ain't over if you're the Buffalo Bills. You've still got some winnable games on this schedule.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the way I look at it. And even Josh brought it up last night. He's looking at the numbers. He's looking at where they are. I think their best shot to be in the playoffs is to win the AFC East.
Correct.
I think the wild cards just becomes really convoluted, and they don't have a great conference record. The one thing they have going for them is that they beat Miami. So you could sweep Miami. That would be the thing. You'd have to do that, I think, to win the division, unless Miami really fell apart or the Bills somehow got on a big roll. You've got the games this week against Denver. You've got the Jets. You've got the Patriots, right? Out of those games, you've got to win them all. I don't see a path when you're not winning those games unless you decide then you're going to beat the Chiefs, Eagles, and Cowboys, right? So I look at those games. You got to beat Miami head-to-head if you're going to win the division. So then you're left with those other games, which is Dallas at home, at Philly, at Kansas City. You got to win one of those, right? So you got to beat all the teams you should beat. You got to beat your rival, and then you got to beat a team that's pretty good right now. So at least you get Dallas at home. I guess that might be an edge, but it's going to take a lot. Right now, how do you trust them in the moment with the way they're playing offense? I don't think you can trust them to win. But you guys watch. You watch the other guys. I'm watching Kansas City and Miami. Talented teams, but flawed.
Yeah.
They're flawed. I mean, Kansas City's offense is not particularly good right now. Miami should have beaten them in the second half. So, and then Miami does their Miami thing. I think the Bills' issue is more their record than the idea, could you get it together? Yeah. But they've put themselves in a pretty big hole by, the losses to, New England and the Jets really, really have made this daunting, I would say, right now.
Mike, I want to make this clear to everybody. I'm not saying that the Bills lost because of officiating, but Mike, can we just ask for better officiating instead of, that's roughing the passer? Really? I guess then that wasn't the only one in the NFL yesterday, and I don't know what intentional grounding is anymore in this league.
Yeah, so you heard Josh right away. He's like, I've never seen that called. It's the first. I said it out loud in the press box, probably too loud, and there's four Bengals, I don't know, staff. I don't think they were coaches. I don't know. They're in the press box. I don't know why they're in the press. And they turn around and look, and I'm like, I've never seen it. I've never seen it called in those circumstances. And, that's an absurd use of the rule. I mean, because it did cost the Bills a shot at 3 points. Does he make the field goal? I don't know, but he's got a chance at it. You get 3 points there. It could have helped. I mean, it certainly would have helped them. It could have turned around things. I don't know, but it was just an absurd call. I mean, it's an option route, and I was not listening to the broadcast, but I heard a clip. Why the networks put referees in the booth or with them that are just going to parrot whatever the ref says and not criticize them if they're wrong? The absurdity to sit there and say, oh, well, this happened and that happened. And then I think, didn't Collinsworth cut him off and say, that's an option route? Like, no, that's not grounded.
Yeah, Collinsworth, for what it's worth, and I'm not the biggest Collinsworth guy, but he actually did push back a little bit there and try to make a point like, hey, if you watch football, any fan knows what this was. This was not intentional grounding. This was the receiver breaking off his route and Josh Allen throwing it where he thought he was going to be.
It also showed you Gabe Davis and Josh were not on the same page. Yeah. I don't know what game Gabe was at last night or what he was doing, but he was a non-factor in including twice where they had miscommunication, including on the interception. And that just can't happen. And that's when I asked Allen about Gabe Davis, and he said it just was the game plan. So that didn't sound very good either. But in terms of officiating, that call on the roughing the quarterback on Settle, I mean, he basically drags Burrow onto his own body. Unfortunately for Burrow, he hit his head there. By the way, it's a big end. Why are you not checking on Burrow when he hit his head? Because he hit his head, right? Isn't that why they called that? I think he was fine, but That's just, and look, the Gabe Davis in the end zone, the face mask call, that was a little more of a bang play. It was a face mask, and it was a little early. That was probably, that should or could have been called. That was not as egregious as the other two. I thought the other two were just terrible.
We're talking to 13 Wham's Mike Catalana, also Buffalo Plus. So now the Denver Broncos come in, and we do this exercise at the beginning of the year. Okay, this is one where Mike, this isn't a layup, correct?
No, there's no. First of all, there's no layups for the Bills right now with the way they're playing. So it can get that out of everybody's head. You just got to go and you got to find a way to win the game, and then move on to the next one. So however you get it done, you mentioned it. Like, we'll find out a little bit more on the injuries, but their defense. I mean, if Bernard's out, look, Tyrell Dodson makes a play and then misses on 4 more. He's a backup and a special teams guy. Plays hard, doesn't always get in the right spot, overruns plays. Like, that's why he's been a backup in his career. But he's out there, and you got Dorian Williams, who can run all day but doesn't know what he's doing yet. So the linebackers would be a problem. Right now, health-wise, I think Rasul Douglas and Josh Norman would be the starting corners. I mean, we'll see what's with Dane and Benford. I mean, they both went out of the game. Micah Hyde with a stinger. Like, you don't know where these guys are right now. And so everything's up in the air. And it looks like Denver, to whatever extent, has gotten some of that figured out. And they've won a couple of games, so they're feeling a little bit better about themselves. So, there is no gimmies on the schedule.
He is 13 Web Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalana, joining us in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Mike, give us a little bit, if you can, look in the crystal ball here. Can the Buffalo Bills get healthier here by the end of the season? Do we know anything about the status of Matt Milano? Do we know anything about the status of Daquan Jones? Is there a timetable? Do you think there's a chance that those two key pieces of the defense maybe return before season's end?
Look, I think there's always a chance. I remember last year when it was Micah Hyde, and the thought was Micah's out for the season. He chose to have the surgery, or they chose to, whatever the exact way was. Then all of a sudden, later in the year, you start seeing Micah doing a little bit more practice, and then I think it was Joe Biscaglia from The Athletic started asking about, like, hey, what's the deal with Micah? Then the next thing you know, Micah's getting close. So, there's a point where they're not going to put a player at risk, but there's a whole process that they go through to rehab. Now, to answer your question, no idea at the moment about either one of those guys. I mean, when you look at the timetables, they've been a little vague about Milano's injuries anyhow. And I know he's been in the facility, but that would be natural that they be there. I think you can hold out hope because they haven't definitively said neither guy will come back. They don't really need to do anything roster-wise. They're on the injured list. They could bring them back at a certain point. But I think you could hold out hope. I think more importantly for them right now is to get some of these guys back, to at least put yourself in a position that if those guys could come back, there's games to come back for. Because I think at the moment that's the bigger issue. But look, you're going to have to score some points. Right? I mean, if the defense is fighting, and I do think they are playing hard. Sometimes I think people dismiss it a little bit, but you are a shell of what you were last year on that defense right now. And I will say, Micah Hyde has a little. He does seem a step slower. He's been a great player. Seems a step slower. I thought Jordan Poyer in this little more of a hybrid role. He was flying around. He's looked a lot better the last few weeks, which is encouraging. So at least on that side, you're seeing a little bit there. But, man, there's a lot of talent that is not on the field for this team on defense.
Yeah, Mike, I remember, say, Joe Gibbs. This is going back a long time ago. When a player, he would, hey, we need this quarterback. We're going to stash him on IR and, just, use extra. And the NFL caught on to that. And, okay, they changed the rule where IR meant you were done for the season.
Yeah.
Have we come full circle here? Because I see the way. I'm sure there are a lot of teams that do this, but how the Buffalo Bills, wait a second, Kyrie Elam, ankle injury, IR. I mean, your thoughts on how the Bills are using the IR here?
Yeah, most of the guys that are on the IR for that. Look, Elam had been on the injury list a little bit. Did that get played up a little? Maybe. Like, I'm not going to worry about it as much. I guess they're keeping him there because they couldn't deal him before the deadline. I mean, I know they'll say they didn't want to, but with the right deal, I think they would have done that. We'll see what happens in the off season. But for the most part, the guys who are on the IR, like Justin Shorter is on there. I think he could come back. But honestly, I like teams having I like the whole practice squad idea of it. I like that there's 7. This is a brutal game, and if there's ways to keep more guys on your roster, so be it. And if other teams are probably doing something similar, but at least you can use the IR to keep a closer to healthier roster and then bring guys back, as opposed to, like you said, what it was when it got to the point where the minute you put the guy on IR, his season was over. I never understood why the rule was put in place like that. Like you said, maybe because of the misuse of it, but right now, I mean, the rosters are pretty big. There's a lot of players that they can choose from, and in a long NFL season, you need all those players.
And Mike, in a day where we're assessing a lot of blame, I don't think it's all bad news. You have, short of a fumble, Dalton Kincaid kind of emerging here over the course of the last few weeks, and Gino and I are laughing that it took a Dawson Knox injury for us to realize what the Bills have in Dalton Kincaid. Talk a little bit about what you've seen out of the rookie.
Yeah, look, he's dependable. He's their number 2 receiver. And I'm not just doing it on, I think he's pretty consistent. The guy has a feel for the game. And he gets to his spots. And by the way, in the game, and I'm not sure how much they showed on the broadcast, he got hurt. He got kicked, I think, in the shin, hurt his leg, tried to get off the field, and then Josh threw him the ball and he caught it on the sideline.
Yeah.
Like, he made that play. The fumble, look, if you're ever going to forgive a guy for a fumble, he gets flipped over. He's fallen down. A great defensive play to knock it loose, because if he hits the ground, he's going to be down right there, and the Bills would have been in good shape. That was really an impactful play. Unfortunate, but an impactful play against them, because they could have gotten themselves back in it earlier. But no, this kid's really good. Yes, the Knox injury ended up being a plus because they're back playing, and I don't think they have a reason to go back to the 2 tight end set. I don't think Knox brings enough to your offense to do that. But if you're going to play wide receivers, they have to do more than they've gotten. But Diggs and Kincaid is a good start for pass catchers. It's just another guy. It's another guy you can depend on, and we don't see it from Davis. We don't see it from Sherfield. We don't see it at all from Hardy. Those guys have. I mean, Davis a little bit. Shakir's been okay. I mean, okay, a nice player, to be on the roster, but you need another impact guy, and they don't have. Look at last night. Look at T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase was really nowhere for a while, and then Higgins was making plays. Boyd makes plays, so that's kind of what you need.
Mike, what are you, Dan, and Jenna working on? 13 Wham and also Buffalo Plus we can check out this week here.
Yeah, we just put up our 10 takeaways from the game. And Dan and I get after it pretty good right after the game. I said at the top of our video, unlike the Bills' offense, we are going to do this video with pace the entire way through, and we did. And look, I think we're honest about what we see, good and bad, and this is a tipping point for this team and this season. Is what they do over the next few weeks. They got to keep themselves in it. So we address a lot of that. We'll be at practice. They're not practicing until Thursday because of the Monday night game. I don't necessarily think it's a terrible thing for a couple of days because this team is beaten up. But they got to wake up. The season's still in front of you. You're 5-4. You're not 2-7. Go stand up for yourselves. This is adversity. They've had this before. They've had it a couple of years ago, and they made a run, got in the playoffs, and that team could have gone to the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that's happening. I'm saying it's the NFL. Go win games and then see what happens. And that really starts again for them on Monday night against the Broncos.
Mike, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the rest of your week. Let's do it again soon.
All right. Sounds good, fellas.
Thanks, Mike. There is 13 Web Sports Director Mike Catalana joining us in the Sports Bar. I want to take a break and come back and continue the conversation with Alex Brasky from Bills Digest and the Batavia Daily News.
Yeah, as Sean McDermott was due to speak at 4 o'clock, but he's been pushed back to 4:30, so we're changing up on the fly. After Alex, we'll have time for your calls as well at 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
More next in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Entering Week 10, the Buffalo Bills are out of the playoff picture this after the loss on Sunday Night Football in Cincinnati, 24-18. Josh Allen has never had an intentional grounding call like the one he had last night.
I've never seen that call in my life. That's an option route. Gabe can sit down or go. I wasn't pressured. They decided to make that call, and unfortunately didn't allow us to get points there. I wouldn't do anything different. I'm expecting him to run a go. He made the read to stop, and that's what it is.
Alex Brasky, Batavia Daily News and Bills Digest will join us next. We'll talk more Bills football. Week 9 wraps up tonight. Monday Night Football has the Chargers and the Jets. Baseball moves today. The Cubs fire David Ross. They hire former Brewers manager Craig Counsell. The Mets hire Carlos Mendoza. He was the Yankees bench coach. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
And the Bills, for the 6th consecutive week, will trade a win with a loss. And they fall to 5-4 on the season. The Bengals are a bugaboo team for this Bills squad. They don't have answers for this team.
Just too inconsistent overall. Not enough complimentary football.
It's the old cliche, in order to win, you got to stop yourself from losing, and we didn't do that tonight.
I know Bills fans today kind of need a hug.
Mike Danger.
I can make the argument, Gino, that Lou Anarumo is a better defensive coordinator than Sean McDermott.
Gene Battaglia.
I feel like I have to defend McDermott here. Yes, if you're just kind of saying by the record they're the same, whatever. Also, I would kind of point out, kind of helps that you have a Joe Burrow on the other side.
Joe Burrow.
Do you think Joe Burrow just dreams of touchdown victories? I don't think that dude dreams about football whatsoever. He's that cool.
We're all here licking our wounds on a Blame Assessment Monday.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, there are some bright spots. He had the late fumble, but Dalton Kincaid, once again, fantastic last night. A game-high 10 catches, 81 yards. Dalton Kincaid, our man on a mission here at the Fan Rochester. The Fan Rochester's Man on a Mission, brought to you by the Open Door Mission. Go to the Open Door Mission, go to opendoormission.com and see how you can guarantee a win for someone today. And we bring up the positive because we know we're going to talk to Alex Brasky here on the Sports Bar and kind of dissect and pick apart what was, again, a disappointing loss last night in Cincinnati for this Buffalo Bills team. He is the editor of Bills Digest, also Batavia Daily News. Alex, the offense appears broken. Catalana was just on. He says they stink. This offense stinks. And if you hold a team like Cincinnati to 24, you think you like your chances of scoring more and being able to win that game. Give us your overall sense of another disappointing loss for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Catalana certainly no stranger to stinks, being a Philadelphia sports fan, but that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, the Bills definitely struggled in this game, as they have for much of the season. They've really only had a 3-game stretch when they've really put any sort of rhythm together, those wins over the Commanders, Raiders, and Dolphins. Aside from that, the other 6 games have been mighty, mighty shaky. So if you look at the season in totality, this team really telling you who it is, and it's an inconsistent team that just has not found its rhythm. It seems to be the buzzword with the players and coaches offensively, and that's led to some struggles throughout the course of the season.
So how much trouble is Ken Dorsey in from this standpoint? They're not going to make a move in season, nor should they, in terms of the offensive coordinator, but the question was asked to Sean McDermott following a loss in London, and he kind of brushed it off. Ken Dorsey is still calling plays. Is that something worth discussing here, Alex?
Certainly something worth discussing, and I'm sure that they are discussing it, particularly judging on the tone set during the post-game press availability. It seemed like for the first time that Josh Allen and Sean McDermott seemed a bit befuddled with the game plan going into the game, and the lack of pace put forth by Ken Dorsey in this circumstance, and the up-tempo style that seemed to work for them against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that victory early on. They went away from it late in that game and didn't get back to it in this game, and that led to, like I said before, some struggles offensively. And I don't think you can go to that no-huddle, hurry-up all the time. That's kind of fool's gold, and that's what the Bills have been guarding against all season. But at the same time, when you're in as dire straits as the team has been offensively over these past several weeks, you got to go to what works, particularly early in the game, and they failed to do so yesterday, and it led to another conference defeat, their fourth this season.
Alex, Gene and I were discussing at the top of our show today that if you're Josh Allen, now is the time to assert yourself. Now is the time to kind of assume the role of the alpha with this offense. And Ken Dorsey's the guy that you endorsed. He's in that role because, in part, you said that's who I want in that role when Brian Daboll left. You've seen other quarterbacks do this in the NFL. Tom Brady, certainly. Peyton Manning, the elite. Patrick Mahomes doing it right now. Does Josh Allen have it in his character? We hear about what a competitor he is, but does he have it in his character to take that kind of command, that kind of charge, and recognize just how important he is to this Bills offense?
I certainly do think it's within his character, but at the same time, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, Josh Allen's part of the problem here. I think that Ken Dorsey, no doubt, has not put the offense in the best position that he possibly could over the course of especially the last several games, but at the same time, Josh Allen has not been operating at his full efficacy this season. He's missed open targets. He's not read the field, apparently, as well as we've seen from him in the past, and that's led to some inconsistencies as well. So as much as you would like to see him take charge, you'd also just like to see him kind of settle in and take what is there for him throughout the course of these inconsistent performances. And I think a prime example was on that interception to Gabe Davis. He had two players, Stephon Diggs and especially James Cook, wide open underneath, and if you dump it down to Cook or Diggs, that's probably 10-plus yards. Instead, he tries to force it into Davis, who disappeared yesterday. That's a whole other conversation. But I think there's a lot of stuff going on here with the Bills offensively. There's an identity issue. There's perhaps, as you're alluding to, a leadership issue, and an execution issue as well from the players on the field.
Yeah, Alex Brasky, Batavia Daily News, Bills Digest, kind enough to work his schedule around coming on with us. Sean McDermott was going to talk now. He's moved it to 4:30. When you do talk to Sean McDermott here, you and the other reporters, the injuries on defense of all those last night, Alex, is it Benford? Which one? Or is it your middle linebacker? Is it Micah Hyde? Which one would have you the most concerned here?
Yeah, certainly Terrell Bernard with that concussion. Not many players, if any, have played the week after a concussion this season in the NFL. It seems like he might be out this week, perhaps even longer. You never know with a head injury. That's certainly a tricky circumstance each time. And how depleted the Bills are at linebacker. They were looking for an answer from that position to begin the season. They found it in Bernard alongside Milano. Then Milano goes out, and now if you lose Bernard, you're forced to run out a rookie in Dorian Williams and Tyrell Dodson, who hasn't really shown well in his time on the field this season. So if Bernard goes out, that leaves you severely depleted at the linebacker position. But that's not to say that Benford's injury can be taken lightly either, a hamstring injury, which can linger at times, and they're depleted at the cornerback position as well, with Tre'Davious White having gone out and Benford being that number 2 option. If he's forced to miss time, and then you saw Dane Jackson also miss time at the end of that game. He said he was okay after the game, but it's been a revolving door at the cornerback position, and there was a time during the game yesterday where I tweeted it out. They finished the game with Rasul Douglas and Josh Norman on the field at cornerback. So Not exactly how the Bills drew it up to begin the season.
Alex, talk to us a little bit about what you saw out of Douglas, what you also saw out of Linval Joseph, and the limited time that they got on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I thought both of them fared well. Douglas certainly, I think, got a little bit more time than perhaps the team anticipated, but didn't appear to stand out in any negative way. And I thought Joseph really played well. He had the nice play on the QB sneak there to take Burrow down, and I think his energy also. You saw him getting into it after plays, and I think he's going to be a presence up front there. And boy, do they need it with Daquan Jones out. Jordan Phillips has not been the answer, and Puna Ford has been really a zero for them. Hasn't even been able to get a jersey on game days, and he's really been replaced in that rotation by Joseph now. So they're going to need both players to contribute. With the injuries at cornerback and with Jones out along the defensive line, they really need Joseph's presence up there to help stuff the run. But I think both of them fared well and could be a positive thing for the Bills moving forward on the defensive side of the ball.
So, Alex, when you're watching Monday Night Football tonight, and I'm sure at some point, because we're in the season of the graphic here, graphic being, okay, here are the teams that are the division leaders, here's the teams of the wild card, and Danger and I like to joke, and here are the teams that are farting around. The Buffalo Bills are officially in the farting around category now, as if the season ended today, but I don't know. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, considering you look at this division. You're not in the North where you have all these teams that are loaded there. You're not out west with Kansas City. You just have to figure out a way to get by the Miami Dolphins, and the Bills already did that once. So putting a positive spin on this, the Bills at minimum is a 4th seed. Would you buy in on that right now?
I can't see how you could commit to that the way that the team has been playing as of late, but as you said, I certainly wouldn't rule anything out at this point. The way that we've seen the NFL go this season, there really hasn't been a far and away best team in the league, and you see the Chiefs struggle at times, the Eagles have struggled at times. Both teams the Bills will take on in the next couple of weeks here, but it's going to be a tough road for the Bills. Sitting at 5-4, that loss to the Patriots could really come back to haunt them. 6-3 at this point would look a lot different than 5-4, both in the standings and just on paper. But according to the New York Times playoff machine, I think I heard this morning, under a 50% chance for the Bills to make the playoffs at this point, and it's not going to be an easy road. They got a tough slate coming up. They really bypassed their entire kind of easy stretch of their schedule, and with the loss to the Patriots, kind of made that null and void. But they got the Jets, who they already lost to, coming up, followed by the Eagles, and then the Chiefs and the Cowboys and the Patriots, who they already lost to as well, coming up in the second half of the season. So it's going to be a tough road for the Bills to work their way back into this playoff conversation and stop farting around with these other teams, especially because all these other teams in the AFC ahead of them right now are playing so well. Like I said, it's just going to be a tough road, but I wouldn't rule anything out because they have shown signs of being able to get it together during that 3-game stretch, and you never know what can happen the way that this season has transpired in the NFL.
Alex, we started our conversation by sharing Dalton Kincaid's night last night. It was another career high night for him with 10 catches and 81 yards. You have the fumble, but that's really a big defensive play more than it is on Dalton Kincaid. I think it's easy to say right now Dalton Kincaid is the number 2 weapon in the passing game for Josh Allen. I want to look into the crystal ball even further. Do you see this kid developing into potentially Josh Allen's number 1 target? Do you think that there's something there with Dalton Kincaid where, when the day comes that Stephon Diggs is no longer a Buffalo Bill, Kincaid is actually the top weapon?
Yeah, Kincaid's certainly impressive in that game. He did have a drop earlier in the game, so 2 minor flaws from him during that game. I believe it came on second down during the first half, but there were certainly more positive moments than negative during Kincaid's big game last night. And certainly, I think he has the ability that he can make himself available at that level to be a team's top target. But I think it would be better suited for him to play in that secondary role as he has these past few games. I know that his stats stood out above the rest this past game, but Stephon Diggs and having that number 1 wide receiver on the outside, I think that's the ideal situation for the Bills, with Kincaid on the inside kind of working in complement to that. But while Kincaid's big night really was a positive thing, at the same time it draws a little cause for concern because it's kind of come out of necessity, his increased production in the offense, with Gabe Davis not rounding into form the way that the Bills wanted him to in a year where he was elected captain by his teammates. Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy, complete non-factors in the offense. Khalil Shakir has really been the second most consistent receiver for the Bills through their first 9 games. So while Kincaid's presence within the offense and really ascent to being that number 2 target is a good thing to see for a rookie tight end, I'm not sure it's ideal for the Bills to have a rookie tight end as their number 2 target when Gabe Davis was expected to take on that role entering the season.
Alex Brasky, our guest here in the Sports Bar, as the Bills coming off that tough loss to Cincinnati. As we kind of look ahead here, and there was one of the acquisitions we didn't see out there, and I wasn't surprised that they didn't elevate Leonard Fournette, because, Alex, it's a little different. If you're Linval Joseph and you can come in and just make a play pushing somebody forward, that's a little different than maybe somebody who's got a cut and you're concerned about soft tissue injuries and whatever. But Leonard Fournette's kind of runway here to be available, to be elevated. Could we see him this week? What do you think is a realistic expectation to get Fournette into the lineup?
I think it might be a little bit surprising to see him this week, but certainly not much longer before he would acclimate himself to the Bills' offense. It's a complicated playbook, as has been mentioned in the past, so I think it may take him a little while to get up to speed, and a lot of responsibilities for a running back in pass protection and otherwise, especially in the Bills' offense with the way that they like to split them out wide at times and whatnot. But I certainly think that there's room for him to fit in with the way that Latavius Murray has kind of faded away over the course of the last few games. He's really kind of struggled in short yardage, particularly near the goal line, and maybe a new face in there, a new player, a new talent back there with another opportunity to convert in those situations is what the Bills need. But I'm not sure I would expect Fournette this week, not saying that I would rule it out, but I think maybe the week after or the week after that would be the kind of the sweet spot for Fournette to be activated.
Alex, with Denver coming in and the way the Bills are playing right now, I don't think that any game is a gimme. Any game is not automatic. Even a team that gave up 70 points to Miami earlier this year might pose a problem at home a week from tonight. What's your take on the Broncos as they come off their bye and are fresh from a win against Kansas City as well, and heading into Highmark Stadium here a week from tonight?
Yeah, certainly seemed like the Broncos were riding their way into the doldrums of the conference, but they've since found a resurgence. They beat the Packers, and they went on to beat the Chiefs and played well in that game, 24-9. Their defense stepping up. The Chiefs' offense has been inconsistent this year, but when you hold a Patrick Mahomes-led offense to 9 points, that's very impressive, especially considering this is the same Broncos defense that allowed 70 points to the Miami Dolphins earlier this season. So quite the turnaround for that unit. But I think the Bills, like you said, you can't count any opponent out against the Bills the way that they performed this season, but this is a game that the Bills have to have and should get against the Broncos. Russell Wilson, kind of a shell of his former self. He is kind of coming on as of late, but the Bills need this one, and being at home where they played well this season, all four of their losses have come on the road, I believe. So I just think that this is the Bills' time to either kick it into high gear or put up or shut up, as they say, and I think they're going to put up this week against the Broncos.
So, Alex, you got the mid-season review out, Bills Digest. What else can we look forward to here, bud?
Yeah, mid-season review, Bills Digest. You can find the link to subscribe on my Twitter at Alex Brasky. Also, you can find my work at thedailynewsonline.com. Plenty of Bills content. I update injuries and practice updates throughout the week. Give my 5 takes pregame, my 7 takeaways postgame. Also, high school sports coverage, as you know, Gene, kind of in high gear right now with Section 5 playoff season in full swing. So it's an exciting time of year and really excited to get after it here.
Buddy, keep up the great work, man. We're proud of you. Thank you for making time for us here in the Sports Bar.
No, thanks, guys. Appreciate you taking me at 4 with McDermott changing.
No problem, Alex. Go hard on McDermott today. Ask him the hard questions.
Yeah.
Like be the one that say, go change the play caller. No?
I can't go as hard as the Mets media is going to go on Mendoza today. Finally got some pinstripe blood over there.
All right, so let me fill it in for everybody else. Carlos Mendoza, who I had to look up. I had no idea he was your bench manager. Is that a big loss for the Yankees here, or is that should we be excited?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a member of the Yankees organization for quite some time. He's been Aaron Boone's right-hand man. You see him on many of the broadcasts standing right next to him. So certainly plenty of experience. I think he got a good man for the job.
All right. I'll take the Alex Brasky endorsement. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you, bud.
You got it. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex Brasky.
Alex Brasky, Bills Digest, Batavia Daily News. Sean McDermott speaking this afternoon.
4:30 on Zoom.
Okay,
so
the Zoom call.
Yeah, and pushing it back, and maybe I'm just speculating it just because, well, one, you got in late, and two, everybody's going to want to know what's going on with Bernard and what's going on with Christian Benford and Micah Hyde. Yeah, you thought the defense was really banged up. And the point Alex brought up, like, oh my gosh, at the end of the game, you had Josh Norman and Rasul Douglas as your corners. You can't even imagine anything like that when the season began. So for anybody that wants to pin last night on the defense, I think you're on the wrong track there. Honestly, I think that the defense certainly has some issues, but those issues are not going to get fixed because the players you need there are all hurt. I think it's the offense that, everybody's healthy on offense.
Not a lot of excuses for the offense. But I think that there is a lack. There's just a general lack of talent on both sides of the ball, but more so on the defense with those injuries that prevent you from being the team that I think we all think this team can be when they play the way when you see them play the way they played against Miami, right? Like that, unfortunately, as great as that game was, that game lingers, and we expect that. We know that can be there, and it's not going to be there just magically. It doesn't just magically appear. I don't know what was different about that game or you remember how that game started too. That game started as like, oh boy.
Yeah,
we can't stop them.
Touchdown.
That was Sean McDermott making adjustments and out-coaching Mike McDaniel. And I don't know that happened last night. I think the talent that I talk about, the lack of talent on the defensive side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, whatever it is, there's also a coaching deficiency. The coaching on this team has been lackluster this year. You take away that Miami game and you could really poke holes in a lot of the coaching decisions made throughout the course. I didn't even like the challenge at the end of the game. You lose a timeout. You could have used that timeout.
Didn't like it. I hated it.
Yeah.
Like, what is to be gained? 7 yards? And you see that in real time. And it's like, I can't tell. Like, do they have a different angle where you could see? No.
Yeah.
Well, they're losing this. And I think universally, people on X were like, oh, we're losing this. And you needed that timeout.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you need somebody in McDermott's headset, and whoever's doing that job right now, you got to be better. I'm beginning to think, Danger, too, like, could we get to the end of the season, we have not one but two new coordinators, like Sean McDermott will hire a defensive coordinator.
Oh, you just bring Leslie Frazier back. That was what you wanted to do all along anyways. 866-4326 is our phone number if you want to join us. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 585-866-4FAN. Happy hour is about a half an hour away, and great stuff today from Alex Brasky of Bills Digest and the Batavia Daily News, and 13 Web Sports Director and BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalano. We'll get both of those conversations up and on demand for you shortly wherever you get your shows. Just search out the Sports Bar. We come back with some takes on tap next.
Yeah, before we do that, let's squeeze in Justin and Rhonda Coit. Hey, Justin, what's going on, buddy?
How you doing, guys? Disappointing game last night, but I think it was kind of expected the way the Bengals have kind of had our number, plus the way we've been playing this season. But I just wanted a quick thank you guys for agreeing with me on that challenge. I think McDermott is terrible with challenges in general, but also, the situation, read the room. It's for 7 yards on a second down. But real reason I'm calling is I kind of wanted to ask a question about the defensive injuries. We play kind of bend, don't break, catch, keep everything in front of you and just catch the guys, not really attacking. I feel like that has a lot to do with us having a higher injury rate defensively. I don't know, maybe I'm being picky or whatever, but I feel like, even the teams that are aggressive, Baltimore, San Francisco, Cleveland, their defenses, they have their injuries, but they don't have, nearly the percentages we do over the years, and they play a better brand of more attacking style of football, I think. I don't know. I'll hang up and listen.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. And in his career, Sean McDermott has challenged 29 plays. You want to take a guess how many he's gotten overturned?
Out of 29?
Out of 29.
I'm going with 7.
That's exactly right. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. That's terrible.
It's a bad
You
percentage.
got to at least be 500.
Yeah.
That's not even 25%.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That sucks.
It's absolutely brutal. I think that's interesting. Do the injuries come because you're playing in a zone versus playing a more aggressive man? I don't know. I think injuries just happen. I think it's the NFL. It's a violent sport. Injuries are going to happen no matter what. But I will say that this Sean McDermott defense, that they're in the majority of the time, this, too high safety kind of variation of the cover 2 or Tampa 2 that Ron Rivera ran when he was with Lovie Smith in Chicago, that Lovie Smith ran when he was with Tony Dungy in Tampa Bay. It's easy to figure out.
It's great when you can get to the quarterback with only 4.
Right.
And you can confuse, and you have corners that can switch off like you did with Tre'Davious White. This is a team danger that in this malaise, their last interception was the Miami game.
Oh. Yeah. So
no, let me stop there. You played Tyrod. You played Mac Jones. You played Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of hard when you're not getting interceptions.
Right. I mean, you see them trying to get at the ball, ripping at the ball, creating turnovers, creating havoc, and while I appreciate all of that, your guys are sitting down in the zone, and your nearest defender is 3 to 5 yards away, and they're not as fast as they used to be. It's worrisome. It's worrisome. It's certainly a bend but don't break, but a lot of times it is going to break, and you just can't do anything about it. And these guys, last night you got no-name tight ends, just knowing this is where I need to be. I'll just sit in this spot, and Burrow is going to find me because I am open, wide open, in this soft belly of the zone. And I've seen it I've seen it for a generation now. Like I'm a Bear guy. I'm watching Lovie Smith all those years. This is what ran Lovie Smith out of town with that defense. Oh, you gave up too many points, or the zone. They figured out the zone. That cover 2 doesn't work anymore. You got to evolve, man. And maybe this is the best route, the best course of action defensively, because of the injuries and because of what you're dealing with. And I'm deflecting here because we've spent a lot of time talking about the offense. Defense is in a tough spot with those injuries. I don't think that the scheme that they're in or the defense that they play has anything to do with the injuries. I think the injuries just happen.
That's probably correct. Got some takes coming up. I've got a conspiracy theory on the NFL yesterday from what we saw and what's kind of going on in the league. And also a take on, yes, there's pressure in Buffalo, but there are press conferences where coaches are asked about their job security. And this one coach was asked about it.
Last week, you brought up the professional athlete that you're completely out on.
And James Harden talking about himself being, I am the system.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And I came back with, I don't know that I'm out on this athlete. I just hope that we all can appreciate LeBron James while we have LeBron James. You should appreciate him. He wants you to appreciate him. We should all
will appreciate him.
Yeah, you're going to respect him. You're going to appreciate him. LeBron said something that when I heard it, I just kind of giggled. Like a schoolgirl. I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to put that right up there with the old clip that Cam Newton gave us years ago when he was with Carolina, the Titanic still has to go. You remember that clip?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're only going to get better. He's taken that leadership role, grabbed it by the horn, and told everybody in that position room, this is what we got to do. These are our expectations. Nobody's even giving us an opportunity. We just lost a great player, but nevertheless, the Titanic still has to go.
That's the definition of mixing your metaphors.
He was talking about Devin Funchess. Remember Devin Funchess?
I would have guessed Calvin Benjamin.
So great.
Devin Funchess.
LeBron gave us some gold. I almost think it should be a take of the year nominee, but I don't want to pick on him that much because we really should appreciate him more than anything.
Okay, we'll be the judge here. How good a take it is.
We'll get to that and more next. I'll drink to that is on the way. You're in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports.
update.
Entering Week 10, the Buffalo Bills are out of the playoff picture, at least for now. Bills head coach Sean McDermott on what is next.
No, we've got to continue to coach and continue to play hard and find ways to win. That's what you do in this league. You got to find ways to win. And it starts up front on both sides of the ball, establishing the line of scrimmage, and we got to feed each other, right? And right now it's too inconsistent.
Next Bills game 1 week from today, Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. Now, Monday Night Football, Week 9 tonight, as the Chargers and the Jets. Baseball news today, a shocker in Chicago where the Cubs fire manager David Ross, the team hiring former Brewers manager Craig Counsell, the Mets hire Carlos Mendoza. He was the Yankees bench coach. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, let's dish out some takes. It's time for I'll Drink to That, our little take space. Takes on tap in the sports bar.
Yeah, I have this theory, Danger. On Park Avenue, the NFL thought, man, we can't afford to lose any more quarterbacks to injury here. Like, you look at what's happened to the Giants, you look at what's happened in Minnesota. And thus, my theory is the officials got this, hey, pay more attention to roughing the quarterback calls. I'm not sure which one was worse yesterday. Tim Settle sacking Joe Burrow. He let up on that play. But there's one that's even more comical. Go look at the 15 yards that Washington got flagged for tackling Mac Jones.
That's brutal.
Like, look, you're going to throw the flag for nothing here? Well, look, if you're going to do that, we'll get to a point, Danger, where, all right, well, you know what? If I'm going to get flagged for just doing my job, why not just say, screw it. If I'm going to get 15 yards for this, let me help my team win this game. You laugh, but someone is going to flag someone 15 yards for nothing. You know what? Let me get my 15 yards in here and really get a good shot.
I'm surprised they didn't throw a flag for Mac Jones or for Joe Burrow losing a fingernail.
Oh, you got to show that.
Yeah, 15 yards. Guy lost a fingernail.
Oh, he's boo-boo.
Dude, that's smart. I slammed my finger in the car door once and ended up losing my fingernail because that's smart. I had to take painkillers. I was like,
really?
Yo, man, it hurts. I'm sure he got whatever taken care of or got it numbed or whatever he did. But yeah, that was a little much. I didn't need to see that.
I don't have any feeling on my middle finger, the top tip, because one time I'm on a ladder and I'm doing trimming and then not wearing gloves, dumb, and all of a sudden I'm falling off the ladder. And well, when you're falling off the ladder, you grab for the first thing, and yeah, grabbing a hedge trimmer is not ideal. Yeah, but back to the yard. What are we doing here?
No, the officiating. Look, this is why I get frustrated with any conversation having to do with officiating. Officiating has always been bad. It's always been inconsistent. It's always favored the quarterback. Like, if you're going to get upset, to me, it's wasted calories. I'm just not going to even think about it. I can't because it's ridiculous.
I understand what you're saying, but the league should demand more, especially in this day and age of betting. These are simple plays.
They should demand more. They should hire full-time officials.
We as fans and as bettors should demand more. Like from this, and we should not talk. We can't just be like, well, it's always the way it's been. No, get better.
Or hire more qualified guys. I mean, all these guys are like lawyers. And I guess at this point, you might as well have that law degree to be able to understand the rules. Every rule in the NFL rule book now is so litigious and so literal. The Josh Allen intentional grounding call, just insane. And I'll give Collinsworth credit for pushing back a little bit on Terry McAulay last night, because McAulay was basically reading the rule like, yeah, that looks like grounding to me. And Collins was like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? That's not grounding. He wasn't even under duress. That's a play where the wide receiver has the option to go or to sit. And he sat and he did the wrong thing and out. Ridiculous.
Right.
But it doesn't change the fact that your team or the Bills or any team, if they're not playing up to snuff, you can't blame the officials. The officials have constantly always been a problem. Officiating is always going to be an issue. Even if we demand more, we'll still find something to bitch about.
Well, I think it also could start with, we have technology. Why not use the technology? That would also kind of be a good place to start. I think it's hilarious in this day and age where you could put a chip in a football, but yet we still have to have the marker and the chain game. Come on. Okay, stop with that. So that's one way you can kind of improve things.
Last week, Gino, you mentioned James Harden as the professional athlete that you want nothing to do with.
Nope. Don't care about the Clippers. Don't care about Harden. And I don't know why he gets this audience. You've never won anything.
Well, I countered with the hope in staying in L.A. that we would all just appreciate LeBron James for as long as we can. Listen, at this stage of his career, we're not going to get many more moments like he gave us in this post-game sound from over the weekend. This is LeBron James.
I'm sorry? The early starts has been the same issues, the turnovers and the defensive rebounding. Contributing to, I think you guys have been down double digits all one game so far in the first quarter.
Yeah, we're like the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. You know what that means? No, the Pittsburgh Steelers right now have not outgained or outscored any of their opponents in this season right now, and yet they got a winning record. Yeah.
You getting your picks ready for tomorrow? Is that
I think I'm Mike Tomlin's lucky charm because every time I pick against them, they win.
There's LeBron.
The Steelers have done the impossible that they get outscored in the game, but yet they win the game.
Forget about appreciating LeBron, Gene. I don't think people can appreciate just how hard it is to get outscored by your opponent and still win. And I get it. Look, we do sports talk for a living. We're going to fumble our words. We're going to misspeak. We're going to misremember things. It happens all the time. But the way LeBron, if you see the clip, you see LeBron talking down to the reporter. We're like the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Do you know what that means? Now, let me explain to you what that means. That means the Pittsburgh Steelers right now have been outscored by all their opponents, but they have a winning record. All right, LeBron.
Cumulatively, yes. Yes, the Steelers have been, if you add up all the 8 games, they have a deficit.
Yeah.
And they're the first team to kind of do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it's this clip right here, though. This is the one danger that, I don't know, I think we should nominate this clip for Take of the Year.
Listen, you can love me, and I know some of you hate me as well. But the one thing you will always do is respect me and appreciate the way I approach the game and what I've given to this game. Thank you.
Oh, God. It's, every time I hear it, it's so bad. It is so bad. You will respect me and you will appreciate. Oh. And everybody in the crowd is like, do we really have to applaud? Okay, fine. I'll give you a couple. Okay, LeBron.
I'm just like reading some stuff on Twitter as I punch this up. 100% or you? No. 100% means everybody would agree with this take. No, I don't need to appreciate. You will respect my authority.
You will respect me and appreciate me. So, yeah, I don't know how much more appreciation LeBron James needs when at worst he's the second best basketball player ever. At worst. But yes, let's continue to appreciate him. And I'm gonna miss him talking down to reporters and talking about how the Lakers right now are the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NBA.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of work to get outscored by your opponent and still win. But LeBron can do it, if anybody can. Just ask him.
Wow, it's breaking new ground. Bill Belichick was asked, all right, things are changing in Boston, danger. Bill Belichick was asked if thinks he's coaching for his job this week in Germany, as the Patriots will be facing the Colts. Look, I was excited to get up on Sunday morning. This one, no. This is Belichick.
Still going to get up, though.
I'm going to control what I can control, and I'm going to get ready for the Colts. Again, let's be real. As long as Robert Kraft is happy being the owner, and I don't see any timeline of him handing things off, Belichick will get another chance. If Kraft's son takes over, then things change dramatically.
It's got to be frustrating for the Patriots because you do what you do against the Bills, and you kind of inject a little false hope, and then you show up in an absolute stinker against another bad team in Washington, right? I mean, like, what are we doing?
They have had some real bad stinkers. New Orleans, Dallas. Like, this is the Patriots that we grew up with. The team that you look forward to playing, and you can just kind of wail on. Bills notwithstanding here, of course. I look at that Bills game. Hey, it's a divisional game. Shortcut when it comes to prep and everything else. Maybe Josh McDaniels goes back. We'll have that story coming up in shots, by the way.
Oh, really? Is there a word on what McDaniels is going to do? The wonder kid, just an offensive genius.
Well, the Raiders. Yeah, you can pat yourself on the back. You were playing without a quarterback. Oh, let me see. What is the line? Did you see the line, Danger, when it came out for Giants Cowboys?
Oh.
I'm going to see where that's up to now.
I've got it. You ready?
I saw it was at 15.5.
Nope.
Ha! Nope, it's gone up.
Giants plus 16.5.
And the over-under is only at 38.5.
Tommy DeVito.
The guy who was benched at Syracuse is going to start in the NFL. Syracuse, the team that can win anything.
We had the Giants' worst fears confirmed today, as Brian Daboll said in his press conference. The MRI taken on Daniel Jones' knee. Yes, it was a torn ACL, and that lost to the Raiders, so he's done for the season. No Daniel Jones for the rest of 2023. Tyrod Taylor is on injured reserve. He's got a rib issue, so it will be Tommy DeVito taking over as the Giants. Look, they also have Barkley. Matt Barkley is on the practice squad.
Of course, ex-Bill. Yeah.
Right. But Matt Barkley, maybe I'm wrong on this. I think Matt Barkley might give you a better chance to win that game.
You're not wrong on that. Okay. Matt Barkley has done it in this league. If your quarterback against the Jets, you wouldn't allow him to attempt a forward pass.
So crazy.
Like this is the 1921 Rochester Jeffersons or something. Like, what are we doing here?
What do you mean what are the Rochester Jeffersons?
We had an NFL team here, Mike Danger. We met the guy.
Didn't.
He was really nice. We got to touch the football, the Jets. They were called.
Okay, that's cute. Nice story, Gene.
We had an NBA team.
No, we didn't. Go sell that somewhere else. My eyes are wide open, pal. I don't believe everything I read on the internet. Hey, the other kind of game that I think caught a lot of attention. Well, a few games yesterday. One, CJ Stroud is real, and I loved seeing that against Todd Bowles' defense against him. Todd Bowles, probably a very good defensive coordinator, not a good head coach. That's your defense giving up that to a rookie quarterback. CJ Stroud looked good. Houston getting that win.
Well, what about you had a position player kicking a field goal? It was one of those like, let's go over to this game here. I don't want to watch Washington, New England.
Right, what a mess. Yeah. Josh Dobbs getting the win for Minnesota. This story is amazing.
So Josh Dobbs, to kind of review, starting quarterback for Arizona, loses a game where Arizona was one possession away from getting at least the ball back against the Ravens. Many would consider the Ravens actually to be the best team in the AFC. So, all right, not a bad loss. And that was on a Sunday. And then the next day, Gannon, the head coach, comes out, yeah, we're benching Josh Dobbs. Like, what? Why? Why would you do that? Well, maybe they're going to call it, we're going to start Clayton Tune. Okay. Well, then you learn, trade deadline, Dobbs to Minnesota. Yeah. Minnesota needing a quarterback. Here's somebody that... Dobbs, one thing, he's the guy you want as a backup because apparently he's very intelligent.
Yeah, he's smart.
Knows exactly where to go. But this is a different animal. He gets traded on Tuesday. He didn't even practice, Danger. Did not even practice. Didn't take the reps. No, nothing.
He just knew the game plan.
It didn't know the cadence. They are literally practicing the cadence on the sideline. Yeah. Literally, when the coach calls in the play, it's you're having to really simplify. Arthur Smith, he should have been fired right then. He should put up on the scoreboard, the Falcons have fired Arthur Smith for losing that game.
Arthur Smith, speaking of, announced at his press conference today that Taylor Heineke will start once again as the Falcons take on the Cardinals in Week 10. So Heineke versus the Cardinals and maybe Kyler Murray. This is all leading up to some very challenging decisions for tomorrow's Week 10 Survive and Advance pick. You already have it down, don't you? You already know.
Oh, we're fairly confident, but now we're bringing in. Was there any sweat? No, we were.
It's the first time the Browns have shut out an opponent since, what did I see, 2007?
Isn't that nuts? It was like there was just no sweat. I don't need any sweat on Sunday when it comes to Survivor football. We will have our Week 10 pick. Arthur Smith, I did not know this. Do you know what his net worth is? $6 million. His father was a billionaire.
$6 billion?
$6 billion.
Oh, $6 billion with a B.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So he
doesn't need this.
No, and when you hear him talk to reporters and talk down to people like that, he talks in alien language, meaning like, hey, I don't need your dumb question. I don't need this. It's like I'm doing this to make my, his father pass down the wealth, whatever, but I have to do this, be my own man. Okay.
Well, let's see if he can be his own man when he's unemployed at the end of the season. Can't lose games like they lost to Minnesota. That's tough. Although the Falcons still, given how bad that division is, they'll find themselves in contention for the NFC South. Even with Taylor Heineke / Desmond Ridder.
There have been so many years, Danger, where the Buffalo Bills be like, this Bills team, they're fronting around. Not getting the division because of New England. I'm sorry. Don't make any apologies if you're a Bills fan because you look at this team and you're like, hey, they're not a playoff team. No, the AFC East has to send a representative to the postseason. Somebody has to go. So, and it's not the worst division. You're pointing out the worst division, that being the NFC South. I think most of us would agree. The AFC East has to send a team, and the Bills have the one win already against the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if you knew this or not, but it seems like the narrative is, the Dolphins can't beat good teams.
I've heard that a little bit. It's been brought up once or twice.
Do you know the last team they beat with a winning record, Mike Danger? That would have been Week 3 last year. The Heat game against the Buffalo Bills. Wow. We've gone 14 months without the Dolphins beating a team with a winning record?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Truth. All right, let's get to happy hour next in the sports bar. We'll take a break here. We'll come back, talk more about last night's game in Cincinnati. We know you have thoughts on it. We'd love to hear them. Pull up a stool and join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. If you have thoughts on the Bills' performance, whether you want to talk about the offense, the defense, Gino has thoughts. I have thoughts.
By the way, Sean McDermott still hasn't gone on a Zoom yet.
Wow.
You're...
Somebody's getting lit up today.
Are we reading into that a little bit?
I mean, that's my assumption.
Yeah, like, okay, 4. Now we're going to make it 4:30. Now we're approaching 5 o'clock.
Yeah, my assumption is he's putting out fires or he's lighting somebody up. That's my assumption. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm completely grabbing that out of thin air. But whenever you're in a managerial role or a leadership role and you're running late for something, a lot of times it's because you're putting out a fire somewhere else.
Well, the one time he should have been running late when he went up to the podium hot, that was right after the Diggs thing happened.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe this is like a needed cool down. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. We'll see what we if we get any morsels from that here as we follow along this afternoon. And again, your calls are welcome at 866-4326. Our lines are open. Pull up a stool, 585-866-4FAN. Get ready for happy hour on the Fan Rochester. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Now, if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, everything from spreads to player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, to kick off the NFL season with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite team. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Entering Week 10, the Buffalo Bills are out of the playoff picture this after last night's loss in Cincinnati. Josh Allen has never had an intentional grounding call like the one he had last night.
I've never seen that call in my life. That's an option route. Gabe can sit it down or go. I wasn't pressured. They decided to make that call and unfortunately didn't allow us to get points there. I wouldn't do anything different. I'm expecting him to run a go. He made the read to stop, and that's what it is.
Sean McDermott addressing reporters now. Injuries to come out of this game include the concussion to Terrell Bernard. Week 9 wrapping up tonight. It's the Chargers and the Jets on Monday Night Football. Baseball news today. The Cubs firing manager David Ross and hiring former Brewers skipper Craig Counsell. The Mets hire Carlos Mendoza. He was the Yankees bench coach. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
And the Bills, for the 6th consecutive week, will trade a win with a loss. And they fall to 5-4 on the season. The Bengals are a bugaboo team for this Bills squad. They don't have answers for this team.
Just too inconsistent overall. Not enough complimentary football.
It's the old cliche, in order to win, you got to stop yourself from losing, and we didn't do that tonight.
I know Bills fans today kind of need a hug.
Mike Danger.
I can make the argument, Gino, that Lou Anarumo is a better defensive coordinator than Sean McDermott.
Gene Battaglia.
I feel like I have to defend McDermott here. Yes, if you're just kind of saying by the record they're the same, whatever. Also, I would kind of point out, kind of helps that you have a Joe Burrow on the other side.
Joe Burrow.
Do you think Joe Burrow just dreams of touchdown victories? I don't think that dude dreams about football whatsoever. He's that cool.
We're all here licking our wounds on a Blame Assessment Monday.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester.
Happy hour in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Thinking about it, Gino, you and I were both right. We both had the Bengals winning on Sunday. Nobody cares when you're right, but I think this lends itself to a bigger conversation about the Bills and how we view this team moving forward. I know there are going to be people that pick Denver to beat the Bills on Monday. That the Bills are now in this space where they aren't playing well enough to deserve to be considered, for any opponent to deserve to be considered an easy opponent.
No, nothing's easy. Can we say Monday night then, next Monday night, is a must win?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you could say technically, well, you're not eliminated. No, but when you consider do you want me to rattle them all off after that? You have Philadelphia and Kansas City and Dallas and the Chargers and all these other teams that you're not going to be able to beat them all.
You've got to get the next two. You've got to get Denver. You've got to get the Jets. Get your next two home games. Let's see what happens with Philly. Because, look, there's something that crossed my feed this morning. It was on Get Up, and the graphic just read, "Is the Bills' season over?" I'm like, stop.
Well, I'm always a critic of any league that has all these playoff teams. But guess what? The AFC East gets a representative in the postseason, okay? So that's the way to go. Don't worry. You may not have a path to the wild card, but somebody is going to win the division. I can guarantee that someone will win the division.
Yes.
It's either going to be Buffalo and it might be the Dolphins, okay? And like you said way back when, that's going to come down to Week 18.
Yeah, that Week 18 game, I think, is still, like we said it before the season started, I believe that will still be the game that it all comes down to. And maybe the Jets make a little run at it here with their defense playing the way that they're playing. We'll see how they look tonight. I don't know that I see the Jets beating the Chargers tonight, but we'll be entertained by that. And there's, of course, AFC East implications there with tonight's Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, breaking news here.
Ow! It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Sean McDermott's press conference, which was to start at 4, it moved to 4:30. What's going on? I don't know who asked this question, but I'd like to shake that person's hand. Are there any changes to Ken Dorsey's status, and will you consider making a change? You want to guess how McDermott answered it?
No.
That's exactly one word. No. The uncomfortable silence.
My money's on Graham. He went there once.
Yeah.
I think he'd go there again. My money's on Tim Graham. He's not answering that question, and he's not going to make a change, not in the middle of the season. And as much as everybody can be frustrated, the offense is, Catalana said they stink. He's right. They aren't performing at optimal levels. And that includes everybody. That's not just the offensive coordinator. That's the offensive line. I mean, jeez. How many times do you see Spencer Brown just get beaten, just get spun, just in a blender?
There's one play like, oh, here, would you like to meet Josh Allen? Let me walk you
Just
on over.
unbelievable. But you need more out of Gabe Davis. You need more out of your skill position players. You need more out of Josh Allen. I know, he had a decent game. The interception didn't cost him any points. You need better out of Josh Allen. I love what you said at the start of our show, Gino. I think you should repeat it.
Okay, so what I said at the beginning was, because people will point at McDermott and people will point at Dorsey. And if you'd like to join us, you can join us. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. But the person that has the most power in this organization, outside of the owner, is not Sean McDermott. It's not Brandon Beane. It's number 17, Josh Allen. And if Josh Allen wants to evolve as a leader, I'm calling on him to wield his power. All right, when he gets up to the podium, he was being, I guess, honest in a way last night when he was asked about the game plan, saying he didn't quite understand it. Well, no, you should understand it, and you should say every week, this is what we're going to do, and that is run up tempo, run the 3 wide receivers, and have me. And this is on my shoulders. I am the quarterback. The great athletes of our time do this. Kobe Bryant did it. Jordan did it. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. All right, and I'm putting Josh Allen in a category that he hasn't earned yet, but you know how those other guys got there? Because they saw something wrong and they pointed it out. And anybody who watches this Buffalo Bills team can understand there is talent on that side of the ball. You have one of the top 5 quarterbacks. You have arguably the best receiver in the game today. He's playing at a great level, Stephon Diggs. And you have one of the best young receivers in the game, too. So what is it? You need to take control, Josh. And if that means telling your head coach no more talk about complimentary football.
I wonder if, oh God, speaking of, I mean, if you want to watch Gene's head explode, listen to this bite from yesterday. I shudder to play you some sound bites from the post-game press conference, because it's a lot of the same of what we keep hearing. These guys are indoctrinated by Sean McDermott at this point. Listen to Josh Allen parroting Sean McDermott.
Just finding a way to get into a rhythm. Come out in the opening drive, had some success moving the ball. Obviously hit a low there and didn't score really till late in the fourth. We had our opportunities, didn't score before half. Didn't get 6 in the first drive of the second half. That's not complimentary football. You got to double dip and get into points there and give yourself a chance. And it's the old cliche, in order to win, you got to stop yourself from losing, and we didn't do that tonight.
So, yeah, what you're saying about Josh Allen, I don't know that he has it in him. We hear he's a competitor. He's harder on himself than anybody. If anything, would I remember Diggs in the offseason doing what he did, right? Showing up to mini camp and chesting up McDermott and being sent home, and cooler heads needed to prevail. If anything, I view that as like, all right, Diggs is doing it because somebody has to do it. And Diggs kind of laying out the groundwork like, Josh, you can do this. This can be you, not you getting sent home from minicamp, not you creating waves or being a problem, but you saying, I am this competitive. I want us to win that badly that I want everything to go through me. Now, I don't know. Here's what we don't know. Because we have a sense. Peyton Manning, brilliant, smart. Tom Brady, pretty smart when it comes to football. Patrick Mahomes, he's collaborative. He's working with his guys. He works with Andy Reid. Andy Reid's smart, offensive mind. You mentioned Kobe. You mentioned Jordan. I mean, these guys.
Okay, can we go back to Mahomes?
Yeah.
Because Mahomes' instance, and this isn't when it comes to game planning, but he overruled his head coach in a playoff game.
I'm going back in.
We wouldn't have known that if it weren't for the quarterback show. But when he said, I'm going back in, like, oh, okay. Does Josh Allen have that in him where he would go?
I think there's probably a lot that we don't know or we don't see or we don't hear. But in closed doors, in the meeting rooms, when you're working on your game plan for the following week, I mean, if you're Josh Allen at this point, you have to be like, look, I don't care what your game plan is. We know what works. He keeps saying the word rhythm constantly. Get us into a rhythm. We got to get into a rhythm. If that means hurry up, then fine. Run hurry up when you need to run hurry up. You don't have to do it all the time because I get it. You can't. It's not sustainable.
But you can run Josh Allen. You got to protect him from hits. You got to do... He has to know the rules of the road, certainly, and you did see him slide last night, and that was back in week 1. But since that point, Josh Allen has had it drilled into his head. No, running, bad for a quarterback. No! Get him moving, because you know what that does? That fires everybody else up on the offense. That gets defensive backs. That gets everybody kind of looking around. What should we do here? The funny part here is Sean McDermott was asked now, like, okay, what's going on with the offense? The Bills got away from up-tempo offense because we wanted to run other styles of offense. No! Stop with the complimentary football BS. I wish I could say that word, but we're on the radio. Complimentary football is used when you're talking about a superior opponent. When you're looking at an offense like Cincinnati or Kansas City, be like, oh my gosh, how do we slow them? Well, you know what? The defense can't do it on their own. The offense needs to stay on the field longer. How many times have you heard that as a football fan?
By the way, you know what the Bengals did last night? They played complimentary football. Their offense owned time of possession in the first half. You weren't able to get into a rhythm because you didn't have the ball enough. The Bengals beat Sean McDermott at his game. Zach Taylor played complimentary football. It's not like the Bengals defense features any world beaters. They just weren't. They were fresh. They weren't on the field hardly at all.
What does that even mean? We want to run other styles of offense. Okay, it ain't working, Sean. You know what style of offense I like? The one that works. Yeah. Like, how did you go from the first drive? Okay, this is going to be one of those nights. I'm thinking this is going to be like the Dolphins. Point. And then you figure it out at the end. Well, let's kind of hurry this up and let's get going. Now this is a problem because I thought we would be over this at this point. Like we would have been past this danger. You've had how many hiccups here? We're out of the month of October, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, there's still a lot of football left to be played. You mentioned it. The Buffalo Bills... somebody is going to win the AFC East. Somebody is going to win that division, and it might come down to that final week of the season. It might come down to Week 18 against Miami, who continues to struggle against teams with winning records. It's the next 2 weeks, and a lot can happen between now and that Philadelphia game coming up here. Between now and your bye, a lot can happen.
Todd writing in. Your Josh Allen take about stepping up is spot on. Josh needs to step up and speak up. If he went out to reporters, and it won't be Wednesday, it'll be Thursday, everything's a day later because of Monday Night Football, and said, I want the offense this way, the whole fan base would be behind him. But you don't want that divide, I guess. You don't want to make it Allen versus McDermott. You do this behind closed doors.
Yes.
You do this behind closed doors. You do it the right way.
And by the way, if you're Josh Allen, you got to recognize, man, unless you're wrong about the guy that you endorsed to be your offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey was hired. They did the right thing by hiring Ken Dorsey. They hired the guy that the quarterback wanted. They wanted Dorsey, the quarterback's coach, to be the next offensive coordinator when Brian Daboll left for New York. I applaud that move. They weren't arrogant enough to think that they had the right guy in mind. I mean, I always joke at the organization says, the guy that we wanted was here under our nose all along. Well, he's the one that the most important person in the franchise, as you've dubbed him, wanted as the offensive coordinator. Well, now you can help salvage Ken Dorsey, make Ken Dorsey look good by saying to Ken Dorsey, it's got to go through me, dude. It's got to go through me. I got to tell you, this is what works. This is what makes us comfortable. This is how we get into our rhythm.
Look, hey, you got to run the ball, especially in... I don't care. You need to beat the Broncos. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay? Can you do that? Let's talk about it. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Our guy Chris was there last night.
Hey.
What's up, Chris?
Oh, not too much. Just trying to dodge some raindrops and traffic on the thruway at the moment.
Yeah, be safe, buddy. Well, how was it? Tell us your thoughts.
Oh, well, Gino, you are absolutely spot on. Catalana is spot on. Brasky is spot on. What I saw last night was when Josh Allen was running, when he was a threat with his legs, with his arm. The reason why they drafted him, they drafted a completely raw quarterback that was considered a parody of a quarterback. And they turned him into a superstar, and now they are trying to take away everything that makes him special. And I can get why Bean and McDermott, want to do that, because they saw what happened with Cam Newton. And they don't want that to happen to Josh Allen. And I don't want that to happen to Josh Allen. But you got to give Josh Allen the room to do what he does, what made him special, what makes him special, what puts the fear of God into defenses. You have to let him be Josh. You can tell him, get out of bounds, slide, be smarter with how you run, but run. Use your legs, use your arm. When he was doing that last night, they did that on 4 drives. The opening drive, the one that they came out after halftime, the Dalton Kincaid fumble, which that happened right in front of us. So I got a great view of that. And then the final touchdown drive, they let Josh be Josh, and they were not, other than the Kincaid fumble, they were unstoppable. And I know the one out of halftime, they only got the field goal out of that, which, yes, that was absolutely a face mask that should have been called, but that's neither here nor there. Overall, when Josh is Josh, when he is doing what makes him special, there is no stopping this offense except ourselves.
Yeah, Chris, well said. Appreciate you. Drive safe back here on, anybody else was. Didn't seem like there were that many Bills fans last night. I got to say, that tiger stripe thing in the stands was pretty cool.
Yeah, the stripe out was
cool.
Stripe out was cool. Great atmosphere. We hear great things about Cincinnati fans, that they're classy, that they're a good fan base, they're engaged, and well, they were all there last night because there wasn't a lot of Bills traveling to that game for one reason or another. The emotion of the game as well. Damar Hamlin after the game, kind of taking a moment, spending some time on the field by himself. This is closure. This now, you can't get over on this team, but the next time you face Cincinnati, you won't have this narrative, this storyline hanging over the matchup. Who knows when that next matchup will be?
Well, let's just play this out here. All right, rose-colored glasses, which we have in the studio here.
Yeah, go ahead, put those on.
Yeah, it's like, okay, these were for Masterstroke.
Yeah, those are the Masterstroke rose-colored glasses.
Oh my goodness, I feel like Masterstroke. I feel like Masterstroke all of a sudden here. Like, the Bills are really, they have the talent and they're going to be fine danger, and we should really do our fireside chat with Masterstroke.
My first dark horse, and he's not really a dark horse, I think he's the favorite, is Rory.
The Bills will win the AFC East because you look at Miami and they haven't won anything. I'm doing my best Masterstroke impression, and if you look at that, they would be the 4th seed. And when you're the 4th seed, you host the 5th seed. And who would be the 5th seed? Well, that would be the best wild card. Oh, that would actually be the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, okay. Well, the law averages say that Buffalo will finally win and beat Cincinnati. I'm Masterstroke here on the Fan Rochester.
But it's funny to think that all the scenarios that can exist, that is an actual plausible scenario, right? Like, you could see Baltimore winning the North. You could see the Bengals continuing to win and ending up with the 5th seed, knowing that they can't win the North.
Yep, and then you'll have the Bengals with a better record than the Buffalo Bills, and then people saying, why is this game in Buffalo? After all, Cincinnati
won the division.
Yeah, so this is the no apologies season. Okay?
That's right.
And do we remember? This happened just a few years ago. The Rams were a 4 seed. The Rams were terrible in November, yet they won their division, and all of a sudden, click, and we're scoring points, yay.
Yep.
And they made it to the Super Bowl and won.
Yeah, season's not over. It is not the end of the season. But you do need, I like what you're saying, and I do think Josh Allen needs to be that dude. He needs to be the guy that takes command and really he's a competitor. Yeah, of course. They're all competitors. He's not the kind of competitor that Diggs is. Like, you see Diggs takes it personally. Diggs is pissed. He's pissed off for greatness. Josh Allen needs to be pissed off for greatness.
Yep. And for anybody, I went on BetQL yesterday, and BJ asked me the question, is Sean McDermott's job in danger?
Oh, he's fine.
Oh, he's as safe as a kitten.
Yeah.
Okay. But I will say this. If you have a year where you go out in round one, or dare I say you don't even make the playoffs, well, then it's not like the band is all going to be back next year, so it's not going to happen. You would have one, if not two, new defensive coordinators.
Well, every year it feels like with this organization. And maybe that's part of it too. You don't have the kind of continuity that you had early in the Sean McDermott regime. You had Daboll for a handful of seasons before he jetted out, and you're still learning how to manage with Ken Dorsey.
If you still had Leslie Frazier, can we go down this road? Would Sean McDermott be focusing in on tempo and everything else that needs to happen on the other side of the ball?
I would just like it if the head coach would focus on getting a challenge right.
That does not happen in West New York. He's terrible at that. That's hilarious. 7 of 29 right. 29 challenges, only 7.
That's for his career?
That's for his career.
That's brutal.
He's 0 for 2 this year.
Hey, look, and at the end of the day, that timeout maybe doesn't win you the game.
Oh, you
just blew a timeout in a costly time. Well, you could have used it. You certainly could have used it.
You have to do the risk reward. What's the reward? 7 yards?
Yeah.
7 yards. Okay.
For a sure field reception? Please. It's a blame assessment Monday, so there's plenty of blame to go around. And there's a lot that went wrong last night in Cincinnati. Boy, you lose Terrell Bernard. Don't know when we're going to see him again. Is it a concussion? If it is, chances are we don't see him Monday night. We'll see how he clears. But Tyrell Dodson out there and just kind of off in pass coverage, not really knowing his assignment, in the wrong gap in the run game. Not great. Not great. The secondary's starting to look slow.
The secondary's beat up here.
They're beat up.
Yeah, you ended the game last night with Josh Norman and Rasul Douglas.
I also think you end the game last night with Von Miller not able to contain. And Von Miller kind of looking foolish at the end of the game. And just a reminder that the Von Miller that the Buffalo Bills employ is not the Von Miller that we all think Von Miller is.
No, we were all hoping that you would see some sort of spark for the Buffalo Bills to put him. I'd also question, the coaching staff. Why would you put Von Miller out there with a game on the line if you know that's like 30% Von?
Now, for as rough as the outcome was, and he did have a fumble late that was a costly fumble, but you can't put that fumble. I don't think you can put that fumble on Kincaid because it was just a really, really good defensive play. 10 catches. 81 yards.
He's smooth.
Yep. Fluid.
You hit
fluid is the word.
Yep. It's one of those, okay, you got something there. And I would also say, why did it take you so long?
It took an injury to recognize what you have in Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox has Dawson Knox ever had a 10 catch game?
No.
Right.
No, has not.
Not even close. Look, they did a pretty good job containing Jamar Chase, but that came at the expense of T. Higgins and a couple of no-name tight ends, finding their space in that zone defense. That variation of the Tampa 2 that Sean McDermott has been running his whole career. I'd love to see that freshen up a little bit, just from time to time. Anyways. And Dane Jackson was probably your best player on defense, which if Dane Jackson is your best player on defense, the defense isn't having a great night either.
That's a problem. I guess Jamar Chase kind of status is up in the air. He took a real hard tumble last night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came down hard on his butt, and he's going to have a hard time walking. Collinsworth describing it as he's not going to be able to roll. He's going to be rolling out of bed on Monday morning. Yeah, that was a tough play. But Dane Jackson doing a good job with a bunch of 3, I think I counted, pass breakups. One on a deep ball and a couple that, one that would have resulted in a touchdown. So nice evening for Dane Jackson. The Bills look to rebound Monday night, a week from tonight,
We do. We will have that for you 1 week from tonight, and what we say is a must-win game. We have lots happening in sports this week, including tonight. Did you know the basketball season in college began today?
Asking me if I knew.
Yeah, so I forgot. You're Mr. FanDuel.
Yeah, you know, come on. I've got. You want to know which game I'm playing tonight? I'm not a degenerate. I swear to God. You know the game that caught my eye, and I'm going to
South Carolina women's basketball.
I'm going to blame my friends at BetQL. I'm going to blame the guys like PJ, the guys that look for value. They find value. They share the value that they find at BetQL.com, and I always go there and I tail these guys. I read what they. Everything is presented. I'm like, that makes sense. You know what I'm doing? Oral Roberts plus 1.5 at University of Texas in Arlington. That's the game I'm invested in tonight. Give me that game.
Can you find that?
ESPN Plus.
Of course, Mike Danger can find it.
ESPN Plus.
Same platform as the Orange tonight.
Who do the Orange got tonight? I'm not even paying attention to the Orange. How terrible is that?
Yeah, well, we'll have more coming up in shots here, Mike Danger. New Hampshire.
Oh, yes, that's right. I saw that.
We have not talked any hockey, so we'll go over what happened this weekend, what's coming up. Another name in baseball saying, no, I'll be a free agent. We had some moves today we'll kind of go over as well. And the story that led to Josh McDaniels' exit. Did you see this? This is reported by Jake Glazer. I think it's fantastic that it ended this way.
We'll get to a round of shots next in the sports bar. Last call coming up as well. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. The Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey is
Rochester Sports Update.
Bills on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoff picture. The Bills falling on Sunday Night Football in Cincinnati. Head coach Sean McDermott on what's next.
No, we've got to continue to coach and continue to play hard and find ways to win. That's what you do in this league. You got to find ways to win. And it starts up front on both sides of the ball, establishing the line of scrimmage, and we got to feed each other, right? And right now it's too inconsistent.
Week 9 wraps up tonight. It's the Chargers and Jets on Monday Night Football. The Arizona Cardinals announcing that Kyler Murray will return at quarterback this week as they host Atlanta. Baseball news, the Cubs fire manager David Ross. They hire former Brewers manager Craig Counsell. The Mets hire Carlos Mendoza. Mendoza was the Yankees bench coach. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. One Bills Live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
I thought we got off to a really good start in a rhythm. And then after that, it was tough sledding. And so that can't happen, right? I mean, against a good football team that's known for scoring points and a good quarterback, you got to be able to score points. And we didn't do it enough, obviously.
All right, there's more Sean McDermott sound from yesterday's postgame as the Bills fall to the Bengals on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I get to go on Bart Winkler's show at 6:20 tonight.
Oh,
Danger.
good.
So, and I'm sure it's going to be because I had the take with Bart just texting back and forth. You're the Buffalo Bills. Stop talking about complimentary football.
Yeah.
Stop it. Enough. You have a quarterback. Go score points.
Right. You know what it is? It's because I heard Mike Tomlin say the same thing. This was probably like drilled into their head when they both played at crappy William and Mary, right? Like, this is how we're going to win, boys. Complimentary football. It's all these guys know. And look, I get what they're trying to say. Complimentary football makes more sense to me than what they were saying earlier this season when Dorsey was talking about conservative, not... What was it? It was conservative, not scared or something.
Yeah, it was some nonsense. Yeah.
Smart, not conservative.
That's it.
Smart, not conservative. Still doesn't really make sense to me. But complimentary football, I get it. I get what they're saying. I think you're right that when you use that phrase, when you talk about complimentary football, it's because you're basically admitting that there's a part of your team that is a weakness, that you have to pick up the part of the team that's weak. And in this case, I think it's the defense. You can't help it. The defense is beat up.
So stop with this, though. Just go score points. That's the way you help your defense, not by holding on to the ball. I mean, that 9-minute drive against the Giants, might have been the worst thing that could have happened to the Bills. See, we can do that. Have a nice time-consuming drive.
Yeah.
Do we see man-to-man defense tonight? Boeheim says he won't be at the game, but can we trust him? These questions and many more as the Syracuse Orange tip off the season at the Dome against New Hampshire. Right? He's going to be out there, I would think. Adrian Autry making his debut as the head coach of the Orange. He was an assistant under Boeheim since 2011. You're going to have to search this out tonight. ACC Network Plus or ESPN Plus. The tip at 7 o'clock.
Okay. College basketball is underway.
Yeah. College basketball, the complement to baseball. One ends, the other begins.
Very good.
That's the way I look at it. One of the most disappointing defeats for the Sabres happened Friday, but then perhaps one of the best wins of the season came the next night. Buffalo putting up 6 and winning Toronto on Saturday. It's a game where Buffalo lost the lead 3 times, but still came away on top. Alex Tuck, 7:12 remaining. That was the difference. Now comes another test. Tomorrow night, the Sabres playing at Carolina.
Yeah, I like what they did against the Leafs on Saturday. Did not like Friday at all, obviously. Friday, they looked like they were sleepwalking. And Friday, I wasn't surprised that Philadelphia just had their number. Like they just match up poorly against Philadelphia. And even though they beat Philadelphia earlier in the week, last week, they were dominated by Philadelphia. Philadelphia just kept their foot on the gas, and the Sabres didn't have an answer. Toronto is Toronto, right? Like, they're so wildly inconsistent. There's so much talent on that team. But I do love how they fought back and clawed back and found a way to win. And boy, everything about that game to me was personified in Alex Tuck's empty net goal. Like, I'm going to find a way to get this past you with an empty net. I'm going to push it past this guy. I'm going to push it past this guy, and I'm going to go in and ice this game. That was awesome. I hope that carries into the game against Carolina. They need it.
Tomorrow on the Sports Bar, we'll talk to Amherst head coach Seth Appert as they had a few points over the weekend. This is an interesting week for them, Danger, because they can't practice at the Blue Cross Arena. They're practicing at the Paul Lewis Arena, which is right over there. Adam Sandler, Blue Cross Arena.
Really?
Well, there goes your ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to. They used to play at the Chuck Muncie Iceplex there, but we used to practice there. I don't know why.
Did you just call it the Chuck Muncie Iceplex?
I did. I'm not going to call it.
It's a tip of the cap to one of our regulars, Will, who listens to this show and wanted to name the Burgerplex, which isn't even the Burgerplex. We don't even know what to call it anymore. The MCC Ice Complex.
No, it's the Tim Hortons whatever. The Tim Hortons Iceplex.
Yes.
About the naming rights.
Yes.
But yeah, it's always going to be the Burgerplex, right? Atlantic Hockey uses a 3-2-1 scoring system. This is what all leagues should do. 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for a win in the shootout or overtime, 1 point if you lose in the shootout, and then no points if you lose in regulation. The RIT Tigers finished their 4-game road trip, 11 of a possible 12 points, and now they are ranked. The new rankings come out. They're number 20. This after the sweep of Army. Mercyhurst comes to town Friday night and Saturday afternoon.
Good-looking team so far this year.
Yeah, it's exciting. For the first time in his career, Joey Votto is a free agent. No surprise, the Reds, because they're cheap, they decided not to pick up the $20 million option. Votto's 40 years old now. He posted a video to social media thanking Reds fans. He's Canadian. Fair to think that he might want to give the hometown discount to the Jays. Votto, though, he might not get any offers, though. 202 with 14 home runs in just 65 games this past season.
40. That's crazy.
Are you excited that Craig Counsell is the new manager of the Chicago Cubs?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I kind of really like David Ross. I know that David Ross made a lot of mistakes as the manager of that team, but I love the idea of a guy who's still kind of fresh from his playing career, relating to a younger team. He had some players this year. They kind of choked it away. So, I mean, I guess moving on from him doesn't shock me.
The fact that Counsell, a Brewers guy, that makes everybody up in Milwaukee angry. Land in Chicago. Everybody thought he was going to go to the Mets.
Well, how do you feel? Right, because the Mets thought that they were getting Counsell.
I have no idea. Some Yankee fan has to fill me in here because Yankee fans really don't like Aaron Boone. They really don't like that coaching staff. So we got Aaron Boone's top assistant.
Yeah.
Yay.
Not anything to be excited about.
No.
Yeah, when I saw Bellinger opt out of his deal, he's going to try and go make more money, I suppose. But we'll see what the Cubs are able to do here. Counsell is, I like David Ross, but Counsell's probably an upgrade there.
Yeah. Finally, what led to the firing of Vegas Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels?
What?
Well, this story courtesy of Fox's Jay Glazer. Before the firing, the Raiders had a team meeting where players directed their frustrations at McDaniels and unloaded on him. McDaniels had Antonio Pierce then speak on his behalf. And Pierce brought up the Giants' 2007 championship team, the one that beat the undefeated Patriots, explaining how that team believed that they could beat anyone, and they went out and did it. And Pierce said the Raiders needed that mindset, and the players all loved it. Except Josh McDaniels did not. McDaniels telling Pierce when everyone left, don't ever talk about the Patriots like that. Word got out and Mark Davis made the firing.
I mean, it had to have been a bunch of different things, but that checks out with Josh McDaniels. I mean, I remember the Jay Cutler story, right? That Jay Cutler was with Denver and McDaniels gets hired and he has one meeting with McDaniels. One meeting with McDaniels, calls his agent and says, get me out of here. I can't work with this guy. And so hearing this kind of checks out. Like McDaniels, it has to be so arrogant that he'll never learn from his mistakes, that, don't ever talk about the Patriots that way.
No. Look, you have your whole staff has different backgrounds. That should be in jest. You should be vulnerable. If you're Josh McDaniels, yep, he's got a point. He's got a point. And I learned from that day where we were the favorites.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that
never learn from his mistakes.
Never don't talk about the Patriots that way. Right. Oh gosh.
Well, they got theirs. They get the big win. The Giants are circling the drain, man. This is an ugly, ugly scene where Tommy DeVito looks to be your starter here heading into Week 10 with Daniel Jones tearing his ACL. His season is over after a torn ACL there in Vegas against that Antonio Pierce-led Vegas Raiders squad.
And before we get to last call at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Yesterday was the New York City Marathon.
All right.
Yep. And so our guy, who's going to be in the U.S. Olympic trials, Joey Whalen.
Joey Kipchoge.
Yeah. Finished 5th amongst U.S. men.
Oh, man. That
5th at the New York Marathon.
Fantastic.
And now, joining us from the Bronx Brewing Company. Where are you, Joey?
In the Bronx, Bronx Brewing.
Well, that's the way to kind of rehydrate.
Nothing tastes better. The best tasting beer you will ever have is the beer you drink after a marathon.
Hear to that.
Yes.
5th, eh?
Yeah, I was 5th American.
5th American. So, how was it? Did you feel your best out there? I mean, like, let us live vicariously through you running the New York City Marathon, Joey.
Yes. So I was actually, I'm very lucky. I was to be in the pro field. So we get buses to the start line, like coach buses to the start line, and like security is like crazy. First off, it's like when we get on before we even get on our bus, there's like cop dogs on our bus making sure there's no trouble.
Yeah.
And then we take the buses. It actually doesn't take as long as I remember. So I ran here back in 2019, and it took us a while. But it only took us like 40 minutes to get to Staten Island.
No, I saw Monica out last week at trivia. I know Monica's on the call here, and she said last time you ran, and I don't even realize this, Fifth Avenue is uphill. How did the last couple miles work out for you, Joey?
Yeah, I mean it was tough. I tried to budget my energy well, but I still bonked a bit at the end. But I never got passed by anybody during the race. And it's funny. I don't know if you watched The Bachelor, but there was Matt James from The Bachelor. They stagger him out before all the pros. And I'm like running by myself, and I'm like, all right, finally I'm going to start catching some people. And I'm thinking that he's like one of the guys in the pro field, and I pass him. I go, this is Matt James. I'm like, dang. It's like I thought I was going to get another place, but yeah, it's just funny. But it was good. I to not get passed by anybody and finish 16th and be 5th American is a great accomplishment.
So, okay, make us mortals feel bad about ourselves right now. Give me your pace. What was your pace per mile?
So my overall pace today was 5:15 a mile.
God.
And he bonked a little bit. He did actually fall off.
So
overall was 5:15. So yeah.
So my
just to make us all feel a little bit humble.
My first 18 miles was like 5:05.
Oh God!
Wow.
All right, what's next, Joey?
Olympic trials.
When?
That's February 5th, I believe, in Orlando, Florida.
All right, we're watching, Joey. We're gonna have like a viewing party, sports bar viewing party. We're gonna set this up, and we're gonna be cheering. And then when you get it done, then they'll have the call. When we go back to Joey's new hometown, Rochester. Woo!
I'm inspired.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my best to crack an 8-minute mile. My next run. I'm gonna do my best and know that I'm still 3 minutes a mile slower than Joey Kipchoge. Congratulations, buddy. Great job.
Yeah. I just gotta survive the winter.
Survive the winter, man. Keep doing it, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you checking
Joey,
in.
Monica.
Safe travels, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Love those guys. That's Joey and Monica checking in from the Bronx.
I got asked to announce their wedding, and now for the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh,
have you done that before?
I have done it before.
Okay.
Yeah, have you done that? There's no greater honor.
When I was a kid, I used to DJ weddings all the time, but I don't know that I ever made. Well, I guess I probably did have to read the announcements. I kind of black out with that stuff. I don't really think about it. But that's that's an honor. What an honor and a privilege. Yeah, that's Joey and Monica. They're the best. And Joey is super fast. The dude is a machine. 5th American in the New York City Marathon. We're claiming him as our own.
And we're going to be pulling for him to make the Olympic team.
And I tease him by calling him Joey Kipchoge, even though that's not his real last name. Just feel like he's out there running like he's Elliot Kipchoge. He's like, he's a machine out there. Fantastic news. Love that. All right. You know what? That was last call.
We're out of time. I'm sorry, folks.
That was last call.
But we will continue on the Bart Winkler Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you're going on because now at least we know who we're making way for, which, we could spin a wheel and not really know. But Bart is on tonight. Gino will be stopping by the Bart Winkler Show here in about a half an hour or so to talk more Bills with Bart. That's coming up on the way next. Tomorrow on the Sports Bar, as we do every Tuesday, Matt Perino joins us from the Syracuse Post-Standard. We'll talk more Bills-Bengals and look ahead to a week from tonight when the Broncos come to town. And Amerks head coach Seth Appert stops by for his Tuesday afternoon visit. If you missed any of the show, search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your podcasts, and you'll find it all there. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Rochester. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike and kick off the NFL season with me on FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country.